I got this.
Oh, you already filtered it for me.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, I love you guys.
Let's go down.
Okay, so we're gonna start with artifacts because as you're gonna
Yeah.
see, artifacts are pretty important in this set. And yeah, let me just close this. It's gonna be really important. Did you reset the grades? Okay, so we
All
have
right,
inventor's
I'm
goggles.
seeing the grades right now.
For
Okay, let's talk about Inventor's Goggles. I'll read this one. You've been doing a lot of talking.
yeah.
Inventor's Goggles is one CMC artifact, which is an equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+2. Whenever an artificer enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Inventor's Goggles to it. Equip 2. So there's like some number of artificers in Kaladesh. Basically, there's another mechanic called Fabricate, and if a card has Fabricate on it, it's usually an artificer. Like Aether Inspector, the one we just looked at, was an artificer. I actually think this card is reasonable, right? It's always one of these cards that, like, if you have it in your deck, it'll be fine, but you're never really like jiving to pick these up super highly. It also has like other artifact synergies, enables things that care about artifacts being on the battlefield. It can help pay for improvised costs. I'm sorry I'm throwing all these keywords out here, right? But like this is a pretty synergistic set. As in,
you
like,
can mention, you can explain the improvise to everyone. That's also going to be really important.
So, real quick, improvise is like Convoke from Guilds of Ravnica if you played that set in Arena, except for artifacts. And I should just read what it does. You can pay for improvised cards by also tapping artifacts. So like if you tap Inventor's Goggle, it counts as 1 mana for the improvised cards, which works exactly like how Convoke does, but only for artifacts.
Keeping it doesn't create mana.
It doesn't create mana, right? You can like the wording that it uses is that you can use artifacts to help pay for improvised cards costs. That's like how it's worded.
Yeah, so you're just tapping artifacts, any artifact. It doesn't have to be creature.
Yeah. So I think this card is fine, I'm never like super excited to pick this up early, and I think you generally can get these early. Sometimes if you have a deck full of artificers and you have like multiples of these, you create like a giant monster every time, but the stat line is not nearly as exciting as like +2/+1.
Exactly.
I think that'd be much better because you could trade up. I generally got this one at a D+.
In some sets, +1/+2 is very strong. In some, it isn't. It doesn't feel like there are a lot of good attackers in this set, but I gotta say, did you check all the cards, Scotty?
Did I check all the cards like via the cheat sheet? Yeah.
So there are not as many good attackers as in Kaladesh plus Aether Revolt that we had before. That's how it feels to me. Do you have the same feeling?
I think that they took off a lot of edge. Honestly, like some key commons, like key attacking commons are missing, which I think is actually just better because I think Kaladesh, etc., was maybe a little too difficult to block. So I think they just tried to balance that out.
Yeah, it was so difficult to block. It was very, very difficult to make anything that's remotely grindy in previous Kaladesh. So a lot of the cards that would be very powerful in probably any other set that's not that aggressive kind of lost their value, even though they were maybe ahead of the curve, because they were grinding and it was hard to make a grindy deck in Kaladesh, even though some worked. Okay, what's your grade on the goggles?
I had a D+ on Inventor's Goggles.
I'm also going to start here with D+, just because now we have more artificers, if I'm correct, than before, and it's the previous cycle, the 2/3 vigilance. Was that Kaladesh or Aether Revolt? Do you remember?
That was Aether Revolt.
So we have 2 packs of those.
Wait, actually, I don't know.
Now we have more packs of those not that one, but cycle of the card that we saw previous, artificial cycle that gains energy and creates servos. So I'm gonna also start at a D+, but it could go down and it could go up. Really, I think we gotta play with this set and see what it is. I know it was not very good before. It was really not good before. That cycle was in Revolt, okay. But so there is like 50% more of those good attackers now that are artificers. So I'm gonna start it on a D+ as well. Oh, I have to. So I gotta click. Okay. So now we have a renegade map. It's an artifact for 1 colorless. Renegade map enters the battlefield tapped, which is kind of big. And for a tap and sacrifice, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. I'm not really 100% why this card had to enter the battlefield tapped. Sure, there is improvise. So what this means is you cannot play Renegade. The big thing is 2 big points about this. Did you reset the grades, Scotty?
It's my turn to get pummeled for this. It's my turn to get pummeled. I apologize.
No problem. So 2 big things. You can vote now, people. So the 2 big things are you cannot play it and sacrifice it, which is gonna matter on any turn where you have that 1 mana open, and where you need that land. Another big thing, unless you play it on turn 1, then it really doesn't matter. You cannot play this and an improvised creature at the same turn. Like, let's say you have a 4 mana improvised creature. Yes, this is only limited. You have a 4 mana improvised creature. You cannot play this and play it when you have 4 mana open. Which is pretty big. So I am really down on this card. It does trigger... so there is one more mechanic. And it is called Revolt. Right, that's the name, Scotty?
Revolt is the mechanic.
Revolt,
name, yes.
Okay. Which says if a permanent left the battlefield, if the permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, then something triggers, and it's usually pretty good. And this triggers it, so that is nice. But I'm just giving it a D, because this clause of enter the battlefield tapped is pretty big. You cannot do anything with it on the turn that you get it with. That's pretty big. What do you think, Scotty?
Yeah, I'll go for D. Don't use this as just mana fixing. You have to have very distinct synergies for it.
Yep. People are on C-. That's pretty high. You can go, Scotty.
Okay, let's talk about Universal Solvent. Universal Solvent is also a 1 mana artifact, which you can pay 7 and tap it to sacrifice Universal Solvent, destroy target permanent. This is always something I was never happy to end up with in my deck, but you know, if I did had some artifact synergies, it wasn't the absolute end of the world. It's super expensive to kill anything. When you can, clunkily, oh my gosh, I am so bad at it. Okay, yeah, I understand why you never reset stuff, Lola, because I never reset stuff.
Oh, no, I don't never. I rarely miss it.
You rarely miss it?
Yes.
Well, it's just the beginning. I'm never going to miss it from this point forward.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm like usually never happy with this, but if it makes your deck and you have some artifact synergies, not the end of the world. I have this at a D.
You got it at a D. It can be. It could be nice in improvise decks. Like you can't really use this with revolt cards that you need to play to trigger revolt. You can use it with revolt cards that have revolt in while being on the battlefield, and there are not that many of those. I'm putting it also on a D. I think it's actually going to be played. It could be played more than. It is a removal in the end. You can destroy any permanent. So the set is kind of fast, but I think it has more chance to durdle, and this helps. This does help improvise. So I'm just gonna start it as a D. It could go down to a D minus. It's never gonna go to a D plus. I think unless it set proves to be consistently dirtly, which I don't believe it's gonna happen.
Reset poll.
Nice.
So,
Cogworker's Puzzle Knot. For 2 colorless, it's an artifact that says when it enters the battlefield, create 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. And for 1 and a white, you can sacrifice it to create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. So this is a white card, but sometimes you're gonna put it in extremely heavy improvised decks. This has been nice in previous Kaladesh Adder Revolt. I'm just gonna say previous Kaladesh. How do I say the best? Previous Kaladesh?
you just play previous Kaladesh, that's fine.
Okay, previous Kaladesh. It was nice. it gives you two things for 2 mana to improvise with. So sometimes it's gonna be free, and sometimes it's gonna cheat something, other things into play. This is one of the, and then later in the game you're gonna create one colorless servo. So this is one of the better improvise enablers, and I'm gonna start it on a high C, but I can see this going to C plus.
Okay. Yeah, I think if you're excited about making 2 artifacts on turn 2, which I think some number of decks will in like the sort of archetypes that you can find in white, I think that's good. I'm also going to go for a C.
And it does trigger revolt later. It's kind of expensive trigger for 2, but it does trigger it.
All right, I'm going to reset the poll. Let's talk about Consulate Skygate. So Consulate Skygate is 2 mana for a 0/4 wall. Has Defender and Reach. Yeah, so this was, at least in the original set, a kind of surprise, not unplayable card. So this card actually blocked a fair number of things back in the original Kaladesh. It's actually very difficult to tell exactly how this lines up in this new format, because I think that it was a really big confluence of specific creature lineups that were commonly found that caused Consulate Skygate to be like actually playable. I'm just gonna guess it's somewhere around there and put this at a D+. You're still not really excited to have this card.
I'm gonna put it on D-. I didn't like this card. 0/4 actually lines up fine against some things in Kaladesh, but it doesn't kill anything when it's attacking, which doesn't trigger the opponent's revolt, but it enables them to use their energy well as well with the creatures that have energy triggers when they attack. So I'm just putting on a D-. I think it is not unplayable, but it is really not something that I want to put in most of my decks.
All right. Let's reset the grades and talk about Eager Construct.
So Eager Construct, for 2 colorless, it's a 2/2 that says when it enters the battlefield, each player may scry 1. So this is basically a 2 mana 2/2 that is an artifact. Scry 1 for both is, the opponent will get to that card faster, but I don't think, same like a 3/3, draw 2 card, the opponent draws a card and you draw a card in Zendikar. I don't think that's a downside, but it is certainly not an upside, so we can look at it just as a 2/2 artifact, which in some decks does make sense, but I'm still gonna give it just a D, even though.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you say. I'm gonna give it a D+.
Oh, actually,
Sometimes just go on 2 drops.
You give it a D+?
Yeah, I'll give it a D+.
Because it's an artifact?
Oh, because it's a 2/2 for 2, you know? Like, I really don't hate these, and also artifacts. I think generally, if you have this in your deck, the artifact's going to matter more than giving your opponent scry first. I think this is serviceable as a 2-drop. D+.
Isn't 2/2 just always a D?
I think it's a little better than a 2/2.
Ah, okay.
To add a plus on it.
Okay. Let me just go one thing. Renegade map. Actually, Renegade map. What did I give to Renegade map?
You gave Renegade map a D.
I think. I think we can actually put it on a. I'm skipping it a D, but it is a big thing that it can trigger a revolt, and you can play things on curve while. So I think it goes up the more revolt cards you have. I think that's the big thing, like to have revolt with Renegade map. Yeah. It could go up to D+. I gotta say, just going back to that, it could go up to D+, because triggering revolt for free is kind of fine. But then again, you have to wait to get that revolt, and then you get your land, so interesting. Yeah, it is not strictly verse. Okay, your turn.
Okay, so Fireforge's Puzzle Knot. It's 2 mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you deal 1 damage to anything. And 2 in a red. Sacrifice Fireforge's Puzzle Knot. It deals 1 damage to anything. So if you have 4 in a red, you can get a shock.
5.
It does trigger revolt.
4 in the red, yeah.
Yeah. If you have 4 in a red, you can shock something. This card's all right. If your opponent has a lot of X1s, obviously it's going to be phenomenal. This like completely shreds some matchups. But I wouldn't start this in your deck. I wouldn't play this in your deck unless you have a way that you're excited about either revolting somehow for 3 mana, which is expensive, or actually having artifact on the field for 2. I would start this at a D+.
Somebody said very rarely relevant, but not Planeswalker. So people, almost nothing could touch the Planeswalkers back in the day. Like until few months ago, actually. Like almost nothing touches Planeswalkers. In standard, sure, things do touch Planeswalkers because you can get those rares. That every set has like 1 or 2 rares that are good against Planeswalkers. But yeah, it's just this is something I've been talking about a lot. Now you're gonna see it. Nothing touches the Planeswalkers. That's pretty shitty, but it doesn't really affect Limited that much. But Planeswalkers get even better then. So yeah. That is not gonna impact the Great at all. It is just nice that everything can target Planeswalkers. Lately, everything can. So that's pretty good. Okay. So I think the X1s, a lot of them, unless you're playing a very specific deck, a lot of the X1s are not just like you're playing a creature that is X1, that's it. Usually that X1 creature is gonna have Fabricate, which means Fabricate. So just to go over the mechanic real quickly, a lot of the cards have Fabricate, and Fabricate says, let's say a card has Fabricate 2. Fabricate 2 means when you play this card, it enters with 2 +1/+1 counters on it, or it creates 2 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature tokens. So most of the cards that are X1s are, you're not gonna get 2 for 1 with this even if you do kill both. So it is pretty inefficient. Like even if you kill 2 things, you're usually getting 1 for 1 for a lot more mana. Oh, they changed it. So there's an errata text. Oh, god damn it, and the Scryfall doesn't have new cards. So this says any target. So... alright, that makes sense. When did they do that? When was this changed?
Whenever they changed the Planeswalker redirection rule, they errated this probably as well. It's not going to come up for a lot of cards.
What does it change to the rule?
So that they no longer say target player, and then you can no longer redirect target players to target Planeswalkers. It just literally says Planeswalker on the cards, like for burn spells.
When was that changed? In Dominaria?
Sometime.
Okay, so that's nice. Doesn't change the grade at all, but that's nice. I don't really like this card. It is an artifact that kind of helps you improvise. But still, I'm gonna just give this a D-. I think it's gonna be okay in sideboard, but I don't really want many of these in my main deck. Could be proven wrong, but I think I don't want many of these in my main deck.
Okay. Next, Implement of Malice.
And it is 3 to trigger Revolt. That's a lot.
Let's reset the polls. All right, Implement of Malice is 2 mana for an artifact. Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to read. Whatever. I'm just going. Implement of Malice, 2 mana for an artifact. Black, sacrifice Implement of Malice. Target player discards a card. Activate this only anytime you can cast a sorcery. And when Implement of Malice is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So essentially, this can be 2 and a black for playing this and then sacrificing it for the opponent discards 1, and then you draw 1 card. So this is always... Well, I guess the more reasonable point is that you can trigger like Revolt stuff for 1 mana. You can play this on turn 2, then you can sacrifice it for just 1 mana. It's card advantage. It's not super impactful. It's not super great. Usually other forms of card advantage are going to be better. So you'd want the artifact synergy. Like we're going to say this a lot. You're going to want the artifact synergies. You're going to want like Revolt synergies before you really want to jam this. I mean, I have this one at a D, you know? It's not great. It's kind of like spare supplies for me. This looks like spare supplies as in it does the job, but it doesn't do it particularly well. I think this is worse than Mind Rot, to be honest, without synergies.
So I think this is better than a Mind Rot because it's easier to get the opponents to discard one card. And this does trigger Revolt for 1. So I have played this in my Kaladesh decks before. I've even if it was probably more aggressive than it's gonna be now. I had room for this. And it kinda is 2 for 1. Also, you can sacrifice this. There are some things that can sacrifice artifacts. So I think it's definitely a better Mind Rot. So if you play it for 3, you discard and draw. So the worst scenario for this is when you're getting destroyed and it doesn't matter, of course. But the worst scenario usually is opponent has 0 cards in hand. You still have an improvised target, which can matter on turn 3. Sometimes on turn 4. You have a Revolt that you can always crack it. This gets considerably worse. No, it doesn't, because there is Revolt. So you want your things to go to your graveyard for 1. So I'm gonna give this a D+. I think it's gonna be completely fine. And you can sacrifice this with some effect, and you still draw a card. So that is also a thing. So I'm definitely giving this a D+. It could go up even. It could go up. This is definitely
we're
better.
gonna talk about this.
This is definitely
I don't
better
think this is
because
I don't think this is the place. I think this is fundamentally worse than Mind Rot. I think being able to discard your opponent's worst card and their second worst card is much stronger, and it outweighs just the fact that
in a perfect
it's
world,
easier
right?
to get them over the card. Like it's like more of like because we can't really prove it, you know. But conceptually speaking, it's harder to get them with Mind Rot. It's harder to get the full value out of it because like you're always going to be drawing a card. And it's much more likely that they just have 1 card in hand. But I think that is not outweighed, like in a sense. But like I do think Implement Malice has synergies which pushes it over the edge of Mind Rot.
Okay, so let me just say something about that. You're thinking about the perfect scenario, right? You have the Mind Rot in your hand. You're not getting overrun. You are okay with using the 3 mana to do nothing for the board. And
I understand everything about the functions of Mind Rot and everything the functions about this. It's just that we weight it differently.
And the opponent has those 2 cards in the hand.
Yep.
And in Kaladesh, it is much easier to just push everything to the board. It was always much easier than let's say Zendikar, where we are actually playing the Mind Rot for the first time. Everybody's playing the Mind Rot. Mind Drain doesn't matter that it's 1 life. Everybody's playing it because it's fine to discard 2 cards from the opponent's hand, because they're gonna have 2 cards unless they're Boros, and they might have it even if they are Boros. But I think this is like a huge difference over the Mind Rot because of that. Because kill 1, draw 1, and the floor of this is like you draw it in the late game, and it still draws you 1 card, and it works with Improvise, and it works with Revolt, and you can play 2 mana, pay 2 mana for this, and maybe play some Improvise card right away, and later you can use the target player discards the card. I think it's a huge difference. Mind Rot was kind of unplayable in previous Kaladesh, because you just needed you needed to get on board, and this can help you get on board, even though that's not the main function of it. Okay, so you don't change anything, Scotty?
Nope. I mean, I could literally repeat back what you said and say the opposite. So I think we should move on.
Okay. Is it you?
Hold on. Resetting the poll. Let's talk about Nam Cobra. Narnam Cobra. Narnam Cobra is 2 mana for a artifact creature snake, which is a 2/1. You can pay green to give it Death Touch until end of turn. Serviceable 2-drop. Fine. You know, sometimes it's awkward to like have to pay mana to give this Death Touch. Think of Fetid Imp from Core Set 21. You know, sometimes you can't just do it on curve to trade up. That's fine. But this is also kind of benefited where it trades with a lot of stuff naturally on curve, having 2 power. So it's like pretty nice. I think this is a perfectly serviceable card. I have this one a C-.
Yeah, it's fine. It's obviously made for green, but even if you're not green in the end, sure, it can be a 2/1. Why not? I'm not a big fan, but I can give it a C minus. It can make any deck, even though you don't really want a 2-1 for 2. But I think I'm gonna start it as a C minus. I can see it go down a bit. Death touch was not that important before, but because you have all those small things attacking. But yeah. I but I mean, I kind of want to give it just a D plus. That's like, kind of want. I'm really close between C minus and D plus because I don't think you really want 2 mana 2/1s, even if they can be that touch. If
Gets blocked by servos.
yeah, it does get blocked by servers. I'm just gonna give it a D plus, man. I'm just giving it a D plus.
All right.
High D plus, whatever that means.
Let's talk about what Pendulum of Patterns. This is a Planeswalker deck card, but I think it's in the set. So here we are.
Okay. So
yeah, this is not in the original set. This was a Planeswalker card, so we've never played with this in Limited. Pendulum of Patterns, 2 mana for an artifact. When Pendulum of Pattern enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. You can pay 5, tap, sacrifice it, Pendulum of Pattern to draw a card. So yeah, this is the worst artifact that you can play on turn 2. And it's terrible at triggering Revolt because you have to cast a card after it. I think this card's an F. I don't want this, ever. Like, there's all the other synergy cards are better.
Yeah, I mean,
F.
This feels like a Planeswalker card. This feels, when we say Planeswalker cards, we say a card from a Planeswalker decks, and that's a deck that you buy for your child when they
Wow.
when you're like, okay, let's check this game, Magic, check it out. And everything is shit there, even the Planeswalkers, everything is weak. I'm also giving it an F.
F's all around.
Yeah, this just, if I don't want my improvised card to pay 2, gain 3. What is that? There is nothing. Kaladesh gaining 3 life for nothing is terrible. You're gonna get attacked and just lose. Go away. 5 mana, happy draw. Go away, go. It doesn't trigger revolt. It's like 5 mana. F all around. Our first F. Oh, and now we can see something that's similar in effect. So Prophetic Prism for 2 colorless, it's an artifact that says when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. And for one colorless and a tap, you can add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Bingo, yes. There we go. It's not a B minus, guys. But there we go. Like, compare this to the previous one. 2 mana, you actually get a card back. You don't have to pay 5. You don't gain life. I don't care. I'm gonna have a card. And just art alone is C+. And it looks
This
like...
is the wrong art.
It's
they don't have this
ramping.
art in the Kaladesh Remastered.
What?
This is not the art for Kaladesh Remastered. Sorry. They replaced the art.
Where is this art from?
There's the actual art if y'all want to see it. If y'all want to see it, that's the actual art.
This is not the actual art?
No. They replaced it because the artist, swapped out.
I completely forgot what was the actual art. Okay, so this doesn't ramp, but come on, do you want to? It's not pay 2 mana, draw a card, and ramp. That's what the hell is that? And this is just nice if you can bounce it. If you can what do I say? Blink it, like get it away from the battlefield and get it back again. That's pretty good as well. But just on its own, triggers improvise, draws you a card, fixes. I really like this card. But I don't know if it's really a C+. Depending on your deck, like if you really want it. I'm just gonna give it a C, because some decks really want it and some decks really don't want it. I'm just gonna give it a C. Some decks really don't want it, they don't have anything to do with this card, so I cannot give it a C+. Just a C for me.
Yeah, I think in reality this is a C, but I mean, I personally love playing with these cards.
Same.
But I have nothing else to add.
Okay.
Let's talk about Sky Skiff. Nice. Okay, I'm big on Sky Skiff. Here,
Reset
let's
the
reset
grade?
the grades. Whew, I got it just in time.
Nice. Did you
So
say it
Sky
at the
Skiff.
same time?
Yeah.
Oh.
So Sky Skiff is 2 mana for an artifact vehicle, which is 2. It's a 2/3. Has flying and crew 1. So vehicles we're seeing in Ixalan, vehicles we're seeing in like War with the Spark. There have been some vehicles, if y'all are familiar. But if you're not familiar, you can tap any number of creatures you control with power 1 or more, or X or more. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Sky Skiff is nice. It's quite efficient, right? It actually blocks reasonably well. It contends pretty well with the other flyers in the air. It's very cheap to crew. You can crew this with servos, right? You can just literally turn your fabricate something and then create a servo to crew this thing with 1 servo. The difference between crew 1 and crew higher than that is pretty big, and this one is the cheapest you can get. So it's very nice. I have this one at a C+. I think this is a very desirable card. You can play it on turn 2 to trigger the artifact synergies, etc. Stick around and it'll fight quite well.
Now, servers are not just for this. Somebody asked is this what the servers are for, essentially. No, sure they can crew, they can block. They're 1/1 creatures that are also artifacts. They can improvise, help you with improvise costs. They can attack, block, crew. They are 1/1s that are actually better than a 1/1 because they are artifacts. So it is not what the servers are for, but it is something they can be used for. This card is not very good. What did you give it, Scotty?
Yeah, C+. This card is good.
Okay. Seems like I have a different opinion. It was not very good in Kaladesh before.
You kidding? This card is good in Kaladesh.
Nah.
What set did you play?
No way. No way it was good. It's
right.
fine. It's fine. But crew 1 to deal 2 damage in the air, it is not a small cost. It is not a small cost, and you need something. This card was great. Nah, it was not great. It was fine. When I say it's not good, it's because I saw that people are saying B- and B range and things like that. How does this generate lift? It does not look like it can fly. It's just flying on its own. So it's
Someone just chucks it like an American football.
And there is how does it generate lift? It maybe that, but also it's what do you call it? The ether. There is ether that's powering up all these machines, right? How can some machine work without it having any electricity? Because of ether. So that's
Are we
how
really
it's
going
flying.
deep on this?
Huh?
Are we going deep on this?
Okay. I'm just gonna give this a C. In some decks, really can't play this. Some decks you cannot. With some decks you cannot tap you play this for 2. If you do not have enough fabricate and shit like that, it cannot be played in your deck. So this is unplayable in some decks. This is unplayable card in some decks. An F in some decks. In some decks it's gonna be nice, and then your opponent plays a flyer and later in the game, right? And it can just block it. It is not that easy to crew something that's not dealing a lot of damage. And this is not dealing a lot of damage. The big thing about this is, sure, sometimes you're gonna have fabricate, but you're not gonna have it all the time as well. The big thing about this is, you play it on 2, you play a 3-drop, and now the 3 block cannot block, so the opponent has a 2-drop that probably that has a good chance of having more than 2 attack, because there are cards like that, and they can attack through your through anything because you just have all the creatures stepped. If you're blocking with this, it's still 2-3. Like your 3-drop is probably gonna be a better blocker. I don't think it doesn't do that much. You are looking at this as a 2-3 flyer for 2, which is absolutely
I'm looking at
amazing.
it like a 2/3 vehicle.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I'm not. I'm saying to the chat because they're like B. No way, it's B. So I'm just gonna give it a C just because it's nice in some decks. It's really nice. It goes up higher than a C in some decks, and in some other decks, it's you're not gonna play it. In let's say green plus something, if you're mostly green, you're probably not gonna play this at all. And yeah, I think there are much more powerful attackers that don't require something to be tapped.
Oh, I thought you were gonna give this like a D plus or something. Goodness.
I'm giving it a C, but it could go down depending how the set plays out. But it's because in some decks, he's gonna be like closer to a C plus.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about Woodweaver's Puzzlenaut, the next one. Let's reset the grades. Let's see. Woodweaver's Puzzlenaut is 2 mana artifact. I don't even know who's reading first. Whatever. I'll just read them all. Woodweaver's Puzzlenaut, 2 mana for an artifact. When Woodweaver's Puzzlenaut enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life and get 3 energy counters. And then you can sacrifice it to do the same. Yeah, this is like... There's not a ton to say about this, except that if your deck is energy hungry, this is like one of the best ways to get energy. If you have a lot of energy payoffs, it's very archetype specific. It's either going to be great or you're just not going to put it in your deck. And you'll know. You'll just look at your cards and be like, wow, this is a really strong energy payoff. Give me that Woodweaver's Puzzlenaut, you know? This could also pad your life total, like if you're in one of those more dirtly energy decks. So it does its job well. And if it's not doing its job, you don't want it. Overall, I think that averages out to D+, but whatever.
So this card doesn't gain you any... It loses your card when you play it. It costs a lot to get the effect again. It doesn't affect the board. And as Scotty said, you better hope you have pretty damn good energy payoffs. Which is probably not going to happen, because the energy payoffs that you have don't really want you to lose a card to get the energy and nothing else. So I'm giving this a very solid D-. And this is this is gonna be played in my decks if I'm really lacking on playables. Like really, really lacking on playables. Expensive for nothing. These 3 energy are not gonna do something that warrants a card and 2 mana. It's just not gonna happen.
All right, let's talk about Consulate Turret.
So Consulate Turret for 3 colorless. It's an artifact that says tap it, you get 1 energy. And you can tap it and pay 3 energy, and it deals 2 damage to target player, I guess, and the Planeswalker, right? Or the Planeswalker. F.
Okay, D-.
You think it's playable?
I put 2 of these in a professional REL draft deck, so I'm giving this a D-.
Okay. Every time I saw this card played against me, I was so happy. I
went 0-3.
I was so extremely happy. Every time I see this, oh yeah, this guy has the turret. And he's probably going to have other cards like the turret. So this is going to be easy. Just give me lands and I can play my things that are not turrets and not cards similar to the turret. So, bullet dodged. Thank you for playing the turret.
Card's terrible.
Yep. Pay mana to deal damage to opponent's face for after 3 turns. Oh my god, I just have to like pay 3 mana. 3! Tap it 3 times. Then deal 2 damage. If you have a very hungry energy deck, and that's what I'm getting at, your energy decks are not going to be happy with getting energy for a card. That's why I hate the last card, and the last card is better than this one. But that's why I hate the last card. It's your energy decks do not want to get energy if you're losing a card for energy. The energy is not that powerful. It is not. Okay, you can go.
Okay, let's talk about Implement of Examination. Implement of Examination, 3 mana for an artifact. Blue, sacrifice Implement of Examination to draw a card. When it's put in the graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So essentially, like as with the implement before it, you can do this all in one swoop. You know, no summoning sickness. You can just activate immediately for 3 and a blue, draw 2 cards, or you could play this out, draw. I guess you just play this out and does nothing, and then later on you can crack it for 1, draw 2 cards, which is kind of nice, right? You can go ahead and play this on 3, and then on a later turn just pay 1 and draw 2 cards. You can, if they're both spells, you can probably cast them both because you didn't spend that much mana, or hopefully you can cast them both. So like kind of nice flexibility, but overall generally overcosted for this sort of effect. It's hard to say that like you want this for improvised synergies because it's so expensive to begin with. So it's not like you can necessarily put this into like a super busted improvised curve. Overall, I got this one at a D+. Maybe I need to diversify my D pluses a little bit, but I'm gonna give this a D+ as well. I'll drop Puzzlenaut down to a D. You've convinced me.
What do you get down to D?
I'll put the Wood Weaver's Puzzle Knot down to a D.
I just go one
You win.
more thing just because I saw this too many times being played against me. So somebody said, "Oh, you kill your enemy over 10 turns," and that was funny because it's so weak. No, you need 20 turns to kill your enemy, because every fourth
That's not
turn
even the
you're
right
doing
math.
2 damage.
That's not even the right math. You have to
Yeah.
you have to tap it 3 times, then tap it again.
Every 4 turns you are doing 2 damage. Okay. So, what did you give the implement of examination?
D plus.
Yeah, I like this card. I mean, I like it for what it is, right? I have been sometimes, even though it was very fast set, sometimes I played like multiples of these. It triggers Revolt. When it's put in the battlefield, in the graveyard, draw a card, which means sometimes you're gonna sacrifice it. Kind of expensive for that effect, so you have better things to sacrifice, like we saw the blue implementation, the black implement. The black implement costs 2. When you sacrifice it, you draw a card. So if you wanna sacrifice something with an effect, this is not the best one. So you really want to have revolt cards with this, and then you can draw 2 cards. It's draw 2 for 4 mana. Helps with improvise, kinda, cause it does cost 3. If you're doing improvise with this, you're not in a good spot. But I'm still gonna give it a D plus, cause I think it's gonna be fine in some decks. It could be a bit generous, the D plus grade, but yeah, I'm probably not picking this until very late, so it could go down to a D, really.
Okay, let's talk about Mobile Garrison.
Are people doing the turret math? Oh, Mobile Garrison. For 3 mana, it's a vehicle. All of these are artifacts, okay? So it's a vehicle. It has a stat line of 3/4, and whenever it attacks, untap another target artifact or creature you control. So I've been playing this in previous Kaladesh, and it was fine. 3 mana is okay. 3/4 is okay for 3 mana, and I've been playing this more than Skyskiff, right? That's the name, Skyskiff, because it is important. It is important to have a blocker after you are crewing something. It is important. So Sky Sniff. So okay. So that's the big thing about this. It can untap itself, so it can be crewed again. So at one point the 3/4 is not very relevant anymore. So you gotta think about that. It is not just a 3/4 for 3, which would be pretty great. It is not that. So at one point you might have to double block something, or you might have to block with all of your creatures, and then this, you kind of have to put one creature on hold that has, or 2 1/1 creatures for that block. You gotta put one. When it attacks, it has vigilance or something else, or the thing that crew it. So if this is attacking, that's a good spot. But you gotta, like, if you top deck this and you're both top decking, again, vehicles are not that good then. So I'm actually gonna give this a C-, and there's no fucking way that the Sky Skiff is gonna be higher than this. No, so Sky Skiff is gonna be a C- as well. It's, vehicles need to be. Can you give a C- to the Sky Skiff? That's the drawback of vehicles. You do need to tap something. You do need to. Are you gonna be able to raise someone? It was not much better. Sky Skiff is better in some decks. It was better in some decks. It was definitely not much better. Because the 3/4 lined up very well for blocking. And when you were attacking with Sky Skiff, you had to block with something else. I'm just going to give both of the cards the C-. I don't think one is better than the other. Crew costs 1. Sure, if you have Fabricate, yes. But before I know I have it, I'm not super happy with having a Sky Skiff. I might be wrong, because this time we have a lot. We have more Fabricate this time. Yeah. Some decks wanted 2 or 3 Sky Skiffs. We have more Fabricate and we have the energy that creates servos, so it could be much better here, but it was not busted or anything. It was yeah.
I mean, yeah. I just personally disagree. I think the crew 2 cost is quite big. I mean, I have this on a C-, but I don't disagree with anything fundamentally that you're saying.
Okay. Did you put Sky Skip for me on a C-?
Yep, got Sky Skip C-. Let's talk about Percata Pillar Bug. Percata Pillar Bug, after I reset the poll, is a 3 mana insect that's a 2/3. You can pay black to give Percata Pillar Bug lifelink until end of turn. This card is fine. It's very baseline, pretty boring. Yeah. Sometimes you're just gonna have an excess mana and get some life, and it's gonna be fine. D+.
Yeah, I'm just giving this a D. I did play this sometimes, and it was just a filler. I guess I needed an artifact 3-drop, and that's why it made the deck. Lifelink kinda one of the weaker effects that you can have on a 2/3 that I guess trample is worse. I guess there are a lot of worse things. Like most effects are kind of weak on a 2/3 that you have to pay for. So you can crew as an instant, yeah. It's an ability. You can crew whenever you want. Whenever you want to crew, you can crew it. This is serviceable, yeah. I mean, again, like people talking a lot of the Sky Skiff, they hate me for it. It is gonna be good in some decks. It is gonna be really good in some decks, and in other decks, it's gonna be unplayable. And a card that is not playable in some archetypes, I'm not gonna be happy to have on a tier list higher than a C-. The 3/4 is playable in almost any deck, so it's also on a C-. Does crewing go on the stack? So the cost is tapping, right? And then the effect goes on the stack. Is that true? Scotty?
Yep, that's true. It goes on the stack. Yeah. It'll appear on Arena and you can respond to it.
But the cost is the tap. So the tapping of a creature doesn't go on the stack. Right?
Yep. It's the cost. It's the tap the creatures : effect.
All right. Oh, Veldfast Monitor. For 3, it's a 3/2 artifact, and for 1 red mana, it gains menace until the end of the turn. I mean, still, if you need a 3-drop, this is gonna be a 3-drop. This doesn't have to be in a red deck. I think I'm gonna go around on the Sky Skiff, because I think this set actually has a lot more servos, because reset the vote, right?
So I thought I did. I think I did precise, but whatever. I reset it again.
Yeah, somebody said reset. I think you did. I think I'm gonna go around on the Sky Skiff. I just gotta say it, but I think I'm gonna go around because I think there is much more servos in this set than before. But right now, no, and it was not busted in the previous set. This is just like. It's just a D+ for me. It's fine.
I'm a little bit higher on this. I think actually Menace is a good keyword. Like Menace as evasion is like a really, really nice keyword to have. And I think if you curve out with this, the Menace can definitely be real awkward, even if you have to pay 1 for it. I got this at C-, not that much different though.
For me, it was, at least in previous Kaladesh Revolt, it was a big cost to pay that one. It was a big cost, but yeah, Menace is fine. I'm still giving it a D+. A high D+. I think it's completely fine. I could go up on it.
Well, let's talk about Workshop Assistant after I definitively reset the poll. Workshop Assistant is 3 mana for an artifact creature construct. It's a 1/2. When Workshop Assistant dies, return another target artifact card from a graveyard to your hand. It's not worth the mana. it's not worth the mana, and your opponent has so much control over when this dies and if they attack into it. Sometimes, like, it's going to be rare that you can back your opponent into a bad situation where you're actually really, really happy that this dies, and they're also really unhappy that it's dying at the same time. It's just doesn't make my decks usually. I guess this at a D minus.
D minus.
D minus.
I had fun with this card, but it is 1-2. I had fun with this card because you know what I love to do. It didn't always come together, but I did love to get the decks. You know, where you have a black thing that the black deck that sacrifices. You had like, what was it? Orzov, multicolored card, enchantment or whatever it is, and the 2/2 for 3 that sacrifices and gets counters. So that was fun. This is improvised as well. I'm just gonna give it a D. Because the stats are pretty damn weak. It can block and get you some artifacts. Like, this goes up if you have some powerful artifacts, like we're gonna come to it soon, like a 4/4 mythic uncommon, right? Yeah, it does go up. So I'm gonna start it as a D, but it could go up.
Okay.
It was fine. This was more than a D in some decks before. It was, but we will see.
You got this?
Oh, Dukhara Peafowl. For 4 mana, it's 2/4. That artifact, everything's artifact. So for 1 blue, it can gain flying until the end of turn. This was fine. It was fine. You don't really want to play it. It doesn't really present a good clock if you paid 4 mana for 2 damage and you have to pay 1 extra to deal that 2 damage. A lot of the things do even block it in the air. Maybe not a lot of things, but it doesn't present a very good block. Sure, it blocks almost every flyer, but you still have to pay 1. I think paying 1 in Kaladesh is no joke. It's better for that touch because then you can block, and I'm just giving this a D.
We're pretty different on this. I think this card is perfectly serviceable. I think this will be one of the worst 4 drops you can find, but I do think it fills a role, and I think it fills it okay. It's really going to depend on how well this lines up, but I don't actually think if you're sitting on 4 mana on turn 4 and looking to drop a Dukhara Peafowl, I think it's going to have significant board impact. And then later on, if you start chipping in, I think that's actually quite a solid place to be. I got this at C-.
People say Skiff blocks it easy. Skiff blocks it, and you have to type up a creature. That's pretty bad. But we have this C-.
I mean,
this is obviously.
Yeah, I got a C-.
This is not like we had a 3/2 for 2. 3/2 for 3 that gains menace. That can be played in any deck if you need a 3-drop. This can't be played in any deck except blue if you need a 4-drop, right?
Yeah, I think this is way better in a deck with blue in it. Enough where they're about the same.
Unplayable in any other deck.
Yeah, it's unplayable in any other deck. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think I've put a single Wildfast Monitor into an off-color deck because I was never that desperate for playables. But yeah, so I don't value them that differently.
Oh, we had. I don't think it's here. So previously we had one of these cycles as the bird. Like we had a 2/1 that was red, right? That could pay 5 to deal 2 damage. That was Kaladesh, right? You could pay 5 mana to deal 2 damage to a player.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The 2 mana 2/1 artifact for 4 and a red. It deals 2 damage.
All I can think of is the Honor of the God Pharaohs, the bow shooter Minotaur.
No.
But you're not talking about that.
It's a 2 mana card. That was, I think, Kaladesh or Red Revolt, doesn't matter. That was fine.
Okay.
That was fine. Okay, so your turn.
Okay, let's talk about Iron Tread Crusher, 4 mana for an artifact vehicle. It's a 6/6 with crew 3. So crew 3 is a big cost.
Yep.
It's not easy to crew 3. So this card is much worse than it looks. It's definitely not a 6/6 for 4. But at the same time, I do think that this is completely serviceable. And if you are in a situation where like you're not worried about getting attack back necessarily, it can do a lot of good work, especially sort of on a sort of stalled board where they're like forced to double block it, etc. I put this at a D+ overall.
Yeah, this is somewhere in the D range. It looks smart. A lot of people are just gonna see 4 mana 6/6. Oh, I just have to crew it. Sure, nobody can race me like that. Yeah, but you need to crew it, right? Sometimes you cannot crew it. 3 is a pretty big cost, and yeah, I'm gonna give it a D+, but I can see it going lower. I think it starts off as a D+. We're gonna see how fast the remastered set is.
This is going to be one of those cards where if you're feeling the pressure from getting attacked by this, it's going to feel like such an incredible card.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like if your opponent can crew it consistently and they're attacking you with it, you'd be like, wow, this card is busted.
And
but
if you're
it doesn't happen
blocking,
all the
it's
time.
gonna be like, oh shit.
Yeah. Bastion Mastodon, whatever, I'm reading it. 5 mana for an artifact creature elephant. It's a 4/5.
Reset the
and you can
rates.
pay white. Oh no. Okay, well, I've lost. Okay, anyway, Bastion Mastodon, 5 mana, 4/5. You can pay white to give it Vigilance. You are not happy about putting a Bastion Mastodon on the deck. At the same time, if you put a Bastion Mastodon on the deck, it'll do its job. And it'll be okay at it. I got this at a flat D.
Yeah, flat D. 4/5 is not that bad, and the vigilance does matter sometimes, but it costs too much. I think if it's if it's remotely close to being on similar speed as the previous Kaladesh, it's kind of too much to pay 5 for something like this.
Okay, let's talk about Reservoir Walker. Actually, you read it, Lola.
So for 5 mana, you have a 3/3 artifact creature that says when it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life and get 3 energy. 5 mana for 3/3 is horrendous. 4 mana for 3/3 is terrible. So it's 5 mana. 3 life, no go, not good enough. 3 energy, not good enough at all. Reset the grades, and this is gonna be a D-, cause guess there's gonna be one deck at one point where you're not gonna play another land, but you're gonna play this. But this is terrible, absolutely terrible. Just a low D-. I really hope I'm never gonna play this in my deck. Close to an F.
D-. I'm never gonna put this card in my deck, I think. So maybe that means it's an F, but I mean, at least it has stats.
Yeah.
But D-.
I don't think. Yeah. I think we can give it an F, but it's very close.
All right, let's reset the poll. Let's talk about Self-Assembler. Self-Assembler is 5 mana for an artifact creature assembly worker, which is a 4/4. When Self-Assembler enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an assembly worker creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. I think this is a sleeper originally. I think this card is kind of sort of big game. If you can find one assembly worker, it's actually extremely good. Like a 5/5, sorry, 4/4, finding another 4/4 is actually quite good. Then again, I don't take them extremely highly. I think I take them about a C- level. So I'm putting this at a C-. But this card is not just an inefficient 5-drop, you know? But you definitely do want to pick up like 2 to 3.
So what do you give it?
I give it a C-.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. It was hard to play 5 mana things, but sure, if you can get multiples, it's gonna be better. Still, it is 5 mana. Not easy. Not easy to pay 5 mana for a 4/4 in Kaladesh. I'm gonna start it as a D+ if you can get enough. If you don't, of course, it's unplayable. But start as a D+ for me. Because this is not This looks like it's better because it's artifact, because it's colorless. But it's not really better because it's colorless, because it is hard. It is really hard to get more of this. And there is no more assembly workers in this set, right?
Yeah, actually, you're right. There's no other assembly workers. Because then there was an assembly worker in Aether Vault, but they cut it here. So only self-assembler.
Yeah.
It is a common, but yeah.
Yeah, and you have to put bunch of it. I'm gonna give this a D. It's just, and because it's
Oh,
colorless,
you hater.
more more people are gonna take it. So because anyone can fit this in their deck if they want to.
Hater. Okay, that's
So
fine.
it's not like you're white. You have a white assembly worker, and then if there are not many white drafters, you're gonna have a lot of them. No, it's no. This is it's gonna get taken. It's gonna be hard to get more of this. Just a D.
Okay. So we're going to do uncommons next, Lola. I'll handle the spreadsheet sorting, yeah?
Okay, thank you. So we have Ornithopter. For 0, it's a 0-2 flying F.
F.
Goodbye. This does nothing. No, improvise. Improvise is not good enough to waste the whole card. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Let's talk about pacification array.
Reset the grades.
Yep. Sorry, that was way too fast. I didn't even get a chance to. Pacification array is 1 mana for an artifact, 2 and then tap to tap target artifact or creature. This looks pretty expensive, you know? At its face, like 2 to tap usually on cards is not super strong, but I don't think that it actually plays out where this is actually that costly and ends up being extremely annoying. So I actually think this card is quite good. I have this one at a B-. You can cast this early for it to help, like, just to put an artifact on the battlefield. Anything that cares about that, you can improvise off of it quite well. And later in the game, it can be super annoying. So I got this one at a B-.
B-?
B-. I think this card was extremely good. And will be extremely good here.
2 mana is a high cost.
It's a high cost. And I was surprised, too, when this card sort of played out better than I expected. And I think it'll play out better than it looks here as well.
So the best scenario of this is opponent is trying to crew a creature, to crew a vehicle. Right?
Yes. And it gets this awkward dance with vehicles, because if you want to tap a creature and they have a vehicle, they can in response tap the creature to crew the vehicle. Awkward.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Opponent no longer wants to crew vehicles, but if they go into the attacking phase, if you tap their creature, they're gonna crew a vehicle. So very, very interesting. I'm gonna start it as a C+, and if the set is too fast, this is not good enough. But yeah, I am gonna start it as a C+ still. It could go down. I think it cannot go up, but it could go down for me. Decoction module. For 2, it's an artifact that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy, and for 4 mana and a tap, return target creature you control to its owner's hand. F.
An F, huh? It's really close to an F.
Is this even in the original set? I can't remember it.
Yeah, wait, sorry, what?
Was this even in the original set?
Yeah, there were 3 modules.
Yeah, there was this.
This card is awkward. It's pretty awkward. I'm gonna do a D-. It's not good. You know, generating energy into the battlefield is not good. The 4 mana thing will be used seldomly and not worth its clunk.
Yeah.
This is a D.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do with this, if you have a super heavy energy deck
D?
and you have like D-. Yeah, sorry, did I say D? D-.
Yeah. What can this do ever?
You can have 3 of them in World of Virtuoso.
What does it do? I forgot.
Infinite Thopters. That's it.
That's a rare?
World of Virtuoso, uncommon, red blue. But this is an uncommon too, so you're never going to get 3 of them.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, it's very bad. I got a D-.
I guess something crazy can happen for, like, if you have multiples, I guess, of certain cards.
Like, here's the deal. Here's another more realistic thing, right? There's a lot of the Aether cards, right, that create servos when you attack with it. So it kind of makes those only cost 1.
Yeah,
It's quite
cost
bad,
only
though.
1.
Yeah. Your tokens will add energy.
I guess I can give it a D minus, but I guess it's gonna be. I guess I am gonna try to play it, so I'm not
We
gonna
got
give
there! Chat, we got there.
I am gonna try to play it, so it's true. Like with those artificers that, yeah, I'm gonna try to play it with a couple of cards. Like if I have, like this, I could pick this super late for some interesting interactions. Yeah, I'm gonna try to play it. Yeah, so I guess I cannot give it an F.
Let's talk about Servo Schematic. Servo Schematic is 2 mana for a reset grade. It's 2 mana for an artifact when a Servo Schematic enters the battlefield or is put into the graveyard from the battlefield. Create a 1/1 colorless Servo artifact feature token. So this actually looks extremely similar to Cogworker's Puzzle except, or like this is basically the same thing as Cogworker's Puzzle if you have no white. I guess no, that's not even true because you could have ways to sacrifice it. If you have no ways to sacrifice it, it's completely unplayable. Or if you care about 2 artifacts on turn 2, like an improvised deck. Like basically, if you're super excited about 2 artifacts on turn 2, you're going to want this. And there's some improvised cards like at the common level which you accelerate out. It's going to be quite powerful. But otherwise, pretty much just ignore this. Overall, I think that's a D.
Yeah, I'm also gonna give it a D. Some decks are gonna care about it, about the. Like in some decks, I am gonna play this, even if like, I probably want to say I always want to sacrifice it, but sometimes I'm not gonna be able to, and I'm still gonna play it. So I guess it's a D. Not very happy about it, but if I can sacrifice it with a couple of things, it is gonna be really nice. So, and when I say really nice, probably just like a high D plus. So, just as a middle ground, I think it's a D. You can crew the sky skiff with. Okay, Chief of the Foundry for 3 colorless. It's an artifact creature that's a 2/3 and says other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. This was nice. And again, I think this is that's why Sky Skiff could go up. Not yet, but it could go up. Because there are gonna be more servos in this set, I think, than there were. It feels like they left in most things that create servos. Servos are 1/1s, and they removed other cards that have no real effects. So all the vehicles are artifact creatures. Of course, the servos are artifact creatures. This probably looks better to most people now because we only went over artifacts. So this is nice. This is really good. I'm gonna give this a B minus. It could go up to a B. It goes to a B plus in some decks for sure. But I'm gonna start it as a high B minus.
Okay, I'll do B minus. Nothing else to add.
Nice.
All right, let's talk about Daredevil Dragster. Daredevil Dragster is a 3 mana vehicle, which is a 4/4. At end of combat, if Daredevil Dragster attacked or blocked this combat, put a velocity counter on it. Then if it has 2 or more velocity counters on it, sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. You crew 2. I thought this card was always interesting. So it essentially contends extremely well. It makes attacking and blocking, honestly, or like it makes attacking into this like a little bit awkward because like it's such huge stats when it comes down. Uh-oh. Are you still live, Lola? Am I still live? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Interesting. Weird. My stream just went down. Anyway, so it's like a really big body when it comes into play, and it's not even like that bad when it sacrifices itself. You lose board position, but at least you gain cards off of it. Overall, I think this is a pretty solid effect. I do think it's a reasonably strong vehicle overall. I got it at a C.
I really like this vehicle. If, let's say, okay, it's a 4/4. So let's say it attacks 2 times if it was not killed. And the 4/4 for 3 is pretty good. Why is everybody so low on this? Like D, cause C. Like this is a C plus for me. And drawing two cards. If I draw two cards later because of it, that's completely fine. It did enough. It probably did enough damage, or probably didn't block that much because nobody's gonna just attack and lose a creature for free. So I have this on a C+. I love this vehicle. And a 4/4 is a lot bigger than a 3/4 as well. And I definitely think this is better than a Sky Skiff.
we're just gonna keep comparing every single card to Sky Skip, aren't we?
Yes.
Sky Sovereign, better or worse than Sky Skiff? Anyway,
Fabrication module. For 3 colorless, we have an artifact that says whenever you get 1 or more energy counters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and for 4 and a tap, you get an energy. This is interesting. And it's pretty good. Yeah, Gimlix, did you play it? I actually played a lot of Kaladesh. This is fine. This is fine. I think there's gonna be more Fabricant and more energy in this set than it was before. Actually, there are not that many energy. There are not that many. Wait. Let me. I didn't create the cheat sheet, but I mean, most energy cards are fine, except blue. Blue is kind of shitty. This is not playable in some of your decks, right? But then for 4 mana you can put a counter anywhere, which is kind of fine. Makes combat kind of hard. I think I gotta start it as a C. The effect is too slow unless you already. It's usually too slow unless you have some other energy cards, but you're probably gonna have them. I think I'm starting it as a C, but this is a hard one to evaluate.
So I think that this card is a lot. I mean, I'm on the same page as you. Let's just establish that. I think this card is worse than it looks. I think it oftentimes can be pretty clunky, but if your engines are firing, then this card is complete nightmare to face on the other side of the battlefield. You play this, then you just play like any sort of thing that generates energy, play something that generates energy, usually attached to creatures, so you can just add the counters onto the creatures themselves. It could be extremely strong. Overall, I agree, it's slow. You know, if your deck doesn't have ways to produce energy proactively, I don't think you want it.
Yeah.
But overall, that averages out for me for a C+.
I really want to put this and the other module that creates energy when you play the creature.
Yeah, they're meant to combo. There's a rare module as well that combos with all of them together.
Yeah.
You can create a loop. That's sort of the joke.
That would be really nice if you can do that.
Yeah,
Then
so if you pick up,
it's not that easy to do all of that. So with those, you kind of want to have a slower deck or a really fast energy deck, right? The slower deck where if you don't have enough energy cards, turret. If you don't have enough energy cards, then you want a slower deck with this. And if you have enough energy cards, then you want a faster deck.
Let's talk about Filigree Familiar. So Filigree Familiar is 3 mana for an artifact creature fox. It's a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. When it dies, draw a card. Slightly inefficient, but it does enough other stuff where I just think that this was... I was generally always happy to have this. Overall, I think that's pretty solid at a C+.
No,
there's not any sort of like hard synergies with this. Yeah, it's an artifact, sure. It costs 3 mana. It's a little expensive for improvised stuff, but fine magic card.
Yeah, I'm all about this. 2 life, improvise. When it dies, you draw a card. It was not like the most powerful card ever before because it was very, very aggressive set. So I kind of want to give it a B-. Not sure if the set. It doesn't look like the set is gonna be super aggressive. Again, like it's. I think it's gonna be. The attackers are really good, but it could be a little bit slower than the previous one. Also, there are not some busted attacking cards. Can I give the Foundry, like the Foundry, give it a B from me. Where is it? Chief of the Foundry. Give it a B from me. Like it's. If the set is too aggressive, this is worse because it's sure you can 2 life, but you have really good attackers, and then the draw card or 2 life don't really matter. You just want to have a good blocker.
I mean, this is going to be able to trade off with like most 2-drops at least, right? And that's not a great trade for you, but it's not. Like if you played this on turn 3, I can't imagine you or an aggro opponent being like, I don't care about that at all. Attack, you know? They're going to be like, dang, that's like unfortunate.
I'm just giving it a high C+. But it could be B- depending on the set. Alright, so we have Thunder Inspector. Why are some card quality? What is that card quality there? Look at this. Sometimes it's like this for Scryfall. Look at this. And look
It's
at
a
this.
different set.
So okay, we
literally a
have
different
Thunder
set.
Inspector. For 3, it's a 3/2 artifact creature. And artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So why not? Makes every deck. Makes certain things... a lot of artifacts in the set. A lot of playable artifacts. I'm giving this a high C+. I don't think it's quite a B- though. But it could be B- because it does make any deck. So it's easy to pick it. It's very easy to pick it. But a
I don't
C+,
think this makes any
a C+, I think it's a C+ actually because it makes any deck, but it doesn't make every deck much better. And it's a 3/2. Weak.
I think if you're not curving out into very specific things with this, it's not actually that good. I mean, I got this at a C myself, but like in a red deck, I think Weld Fast Monitor on average is just going to be much stronger. But I got this one at a C. So the body's not super exciting, but it can't be that bad.
Also, I'm talking in the chat with some people. In every set, we don't have 300 grades, right? So if you have multiple cards on, let's say, a C+, some cards are always going to be stronger than the other card in a C+. And then you might ask, but why not give it a B-? Yeah, but then that card is going to be always weaker or weaker in 99% of the situation than every other B- card. And then why not give it a C+? And that can go on forever. So there are not 300 grades. There are what 12 grades or something like that. And the grades change. Like some card becomes a B when it was a C before in a certain deck after a pack 2. But these are just general grades. Average grades. So I think it's your turn. What do you give the 3/2?
A C.
Okay.
You had it a C+. You want to read a Roller Maker?
It's your turn.
All right, it's me. Whirler Maker. 3. For an artifact, 4, tap, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. This card looks super expensive. It is super expensive. It looks really bad. It's mostly not great. If you get to the point of parity where you can just start sinking 4 mana into this every turn, you're probably going to win the game. Because like that's actually a pretty powerful effect if you can get to that stage of the game, which I actually don't think... it's not super easy to get there. You can build around it, right? And if this is a finisher, it's going to oftentimes get the job done. But overall, I don't think you want to take this super highly, you know? And like build... It's not something you take early and build around. So overall, I think that's like going to be at a D+ for me.
What do you give it? A D+.
D+.
Yeah, this is so much fun to play. This was not good in a Kaladesh Undead Revolt because this was so slow. I'm still gonna give it a D+, because I think the set is a little bit slower. I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna give it a D+, because I think it's a bit slower, and it might just work. It might just work. No, what are you talking about? I never said something like that. I said something something about it, but I never said that I'm better than LSV. I said that I'm better than LSV in a certain draft format. Because he didn't play it. I mean, he didn't play it. Obviously, like I watched him, and he didn't play it. It was like his 5th draft, and everybody did like 7th. Everybody did like 90 drafts already. I mean, you gotta be like some kind of prodigy genius to be better with 5 drafts than somebody who played like 90 drafts. It's not hard. I mean,
This is the best response I could have hoped for.
But it's true. I never said, "Oh, I'm better than LSV." Well, like, how can anybody say that? Because I mean, he's got such crazy freaking achievement. If somebody doesn't appreciate LSV, then I mean, something is wrong with them. But I can for certain say that I'm better in some sets that I was better, at least when I play them, because I do like to watch him when I can, and he's not drafting them a lot. Like if you do 3 drafts a week of some set, there is not enough practice for you to know. And I also say that his tier lists don't get updated, so all the tier lists should be viewed with a grain of salt. But after a month, if LSV doesn't update the tier list, he doesn't even think the grades are correct. So, and I think he always says it's something to be used as a discussion tool, especially because he's not gonna update it. And I mean, what's wrong with that? I think he would agree with all of those things. So yeah. I'm really gonna try to play with this card, but I probably this doesn't have. If it's gonna be any kind of fast, then yeah, any kind of it's gonna be a kind of fast set, but I think it's gonna be a bit slower. That's why it's a D plus, because I really want to make this work with some decks.
All right, let's talk about Bomap. No, it's you. Just kidding.
Oh, what?
If you want to talk about Bomap Bazaar Barge.
Sure. Bomat Bazaar Barge. For 4 mana, it's a 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you can crew it for 3. I was always fine with this card. It was never busted. Like now this is if you remember the 4 mana 6/6, this is so much better. This is just so much better than that. But it's not busted or anything. I'm still giving it a C+. Like, I'm super happy to trade this with anything. I'm giving it a C+. It's so nice to draw a card when you play it. I'm giving this C+, and I think it's gonna be correct.
C+ and nothing else to add.
Okay.
Let's talk about Oval Chase Dragster. Oval Chase Dragster is a 4 mana vehicle, which is a 6/1, bam, trample haste by Lola with crew 1. So yeah, this is a lot of burst damage. If this ever gets in a hit, uncontested, if you have like a surplus or removal or something, that's a big game. If it ever hits twice, you're probably just crushing the game like completely. Overall, this trading with anything is rough. Trading with servos is kind of rough. If you're like hyper aggressive and this tops your curve, fine. You know. Overall, I think this one's a D+, but you're gonna know when you want it.
What do you give it?
I got it a D+, but I think it's quite good as like a curve topper if you're in aggressive deck or have a surplus or removal. You can think you get 2 hits in with this.
Yeah, but you know the thing is, even in previous Kaladesh, it was hyper aggro. This didn't really have a place. Like, you had attackers that didn't die to servos. You had the attackers that don't die to servos. And of course vehicles get summoning sickness. Then why would this have haste? D. This didn't have a room. This didn't have place in an aggressive set because of the stupid servers. You really need this to finish the game. And why not just play 5 mana to the 5 damage to the face or something that's actually gonna finish the game. You really need this to finish the game. And one of your things cannot attack because you play this. And it's not gonna attack again. But if you give this first strike, or is there a flying vehicle operator?
I mean, if you have a flying unit, you can just crew. You mean like one that gives bonuses to vehicles?
Yeah,
like
I
gives
mean
it
a flying.
flying?
I mean a flying creature that does nothing to the vehicle. No, a creature that gives flying to the vehicle is screwing. Do you know? That's a question.
I didn't see it. Was there one in the original set?
I think there was a white one, right?
The white one. Oh yeah. Oh, you're right. It was white. I was thinking about blue for some reason. Yeah, it
No,
is.
there is no first strike in white. That's
Aeronaut Admiral is in this set. It's a 4 mana 3/1 that gives vehicles flying.
Oh, there is. Red one was first strike. Red one was what? Haste? I don't remember. So there is one. Still, just give this a D. If this is gonna work for you, you're probably gonna know when. And it's very narrow situations it's gonna work. So it does exist in Kaladesh Remastered? It does, okay.
Does exist, yeah. Aeronaut Admiral.
Okay, yeah. 4 mana 3/1, your flying creature vehicles you control have flying. Okay. Okay. That makes this card like billion times better if you have like 2 of those or something. Okay. Untethered Express. These are all uncommons, right? So you're not gonna see too many of these. This is a mythic uncommon that is not as powerful as the mythic common that that the Kaladesh had. This is from Ed the Revolt. So it's a 4/4 trample. It has crew 1. Whenever it attacks, the grades are reset now. Whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. What? Yeah, true. This is problem. This card, I'm not sure why they printed it again, actually. I'm not really sure. Because it's a rhino and a train at the same time. Yeah, that's true. This is unbelievable. But it is not a bomb. But it's... Can this be an A-? Because at one point, like, you can double block it or something. I think it's a high B+.
I can live with B+. Dodges sorcery speed removal too. Card's annoying.
Yeah, it dodges the removal. This is stupid. Yeah, this card is stupid. This is stupid. Put it in every deck you see. Every single deck you see. I mean, we are picking this probably over the bombs, right? Because it goes into every single deck. Right?
Choo-choo. Over like some bombs, yeah, low level ones, probably not the mythics, but...
Tell me one bomb that we are picking over this.
Tell you one bomb that I'm picking over this? I was going to name Sky Sovereign. That doesn't count.
I know, Gimlix. Yeah, I'm so happy. Okay, you said, what, Sky Sovereign?
Yeah, that doesn't count. Name one bomb I'm picking over it? Probably Angel of Invention. I'm just going down the list. I'd probably pick Angel of Invention over it.
Gear Hulks.
Confiscation Coup.
Yeah, Gear Hulks are better.
Yeah, Gear Hulks.
But those are like B+ or something. I'm gonna give this an A-. Okay. This is Sky. We're gonna fucking kill you with the Sky Skiffs. So this is basically like if you're not getting a most powerful bomb in the pack, you're picking this. It's always gonna make a deck. It's almost always gonna be the most powerful card in your deck. So this is gonna be A- for me. It is just too good. It's gonna end games. You have a trick with this? It's just an A minus. The rules and rails are made to be broken. Yeah. Rules how powerful a colorless card on uncommon level can be. But Renegade Fighter, that was unbelievable as well.
It was a scary card.
I'm so happy that they didn't reprint it. If they reprinted it, I probably wouldn't play much of Kaladesh, and I'm gonna play a lot of it now. Because that card is wrong. That card shouldn't exist. By the way, everybody, we are talking about this bullshit. Okay, what the fuck? Fighter? Writer.
I'm so sorry. It's really mean of me to laugh. I'm sorry. Freighter. There's an E in there.
I don't know. Okay. There's an E.
I'm
Okay,
so sorry.
Fighter. So this is the card that we are talking. Let me just get to the Scryfall. So this is the card we are talking about. It's 3 mana, crew 2, doesn't matter. 2 is fine. 2 and 1 are basically the same, so don't. Crew Sky is crew 1. Whenever Renegade Fighter attacks, it becomes a 5/4 with trample. It's a 3 mana common. It's common. That was stupid. If that existed. Choo Choo the Super Train. Oh. If that card existed, I wouldn't like Kaladesh Remastered. So yeah. I liked the Revolt because it was just one pack of where that card is possible to get. Yeah, this is uncommon. There's a huge difference in uncommon and common cards, right? Casual 3 mana, 5/4 trample, exactly. Okay. So you gave it a B. I gave it a B minus. You're changing?
No, what? You gave it an A minus.
A minus, because it's colorless.
No, I'm B plus. I'll be B plus. Okay, let's talk about Ballista Charger. Ballista Charger is 5 mana for a vehicle, which is 6/6. Whenever Ballista Charger attacks, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Crew 3. The pinging is fine. It's expensive. It's hard. It's kind of difficult to crew. I was never super unhappy about this card, but it was always like one of your. It was never really your best 5-drop. But if you needed something at this end at this size, I think this was always serviceable. So I think I got this one to C minus.
Did you reset the grades?
Oh, sorry. I'm a terrible boy.
I'm gonna get spanked.
I got it to C minus.
So C minus. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with having this as my top end. But then again, I really hope I don't. There are only a certain amount of vehicles you can put in your deck. So everybody got to remember that there is only a certain amount of vehicles that can make the deck. I'm not gonna say the count because that would be pretentious. Every deck is different, and you can play one of these, and sometimes you're gonna be really happy. Sometimes, like pack 3, you're gonna be like, "Yes, I really needed the Ballista Charger," because it does kill all the X1s. It does kill all the X1s, so that's pretty good. So yeah.
You okay?
What do you have it at?
Yes, yeah. I'm okay with a C for this. And of course, the more vehicles you have already. There's the thing about vehicles. The more vehicles you have, they're not super high picks, because the more you have, the less you want the others. Because if you have multiple vehicles on board, like, you need them to die, or if you're, let's say, you're not winning or something, because you can crew the vehicle with the vehicle, and you always have one vehicle. It's always one or maybe 2. So be careful about how many vehicles you're putting in your decks. I'm gonna give this a C still. Actually, I'm gonna just give it a C minus.
Okay, same page.
C minus, yeah, just C minus. You don't want you can use one of these. I'm gonna be happy with one. In some decks, yeah. Demolition Stomper for 6 mana. It's a 10/7. It has crew 5, crew 2. It has crew 5, and Demolition Stomper can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Hey, Janos. So I had a big problem with 6-drops in Kaladesh. They were too slow. You usually die before you cast it. If you no vehicles all. So let me tell you about it. Every creature. So let's say that there is a permanent, any permanent, a land, artifact, I don't know, enchantment. If that permanent becomes a creature, it gets summoning sickness. If that permanent enter the battlefield this turn. Did I word that correctly, Scotty? You're not even listening, right?
No, I'm not even listening. You're on your own.
So that's what I hope you understand. An artifact, Demolition Stomper, is a permanent, right? So every permanent that enters the battlefield, it has summoning sickness if it becomes a creature. It doesn't have summoning sickness if it doesn't become a creature. You can crew it and block. You can crew it and do nothing. So I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things happening when people try to crew vehicles that came into play this turn. Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to be clear. So crew 5 is so huge. I'm gonna give this a D- because I think I'm gonna find a place maybe for one deck that's gonna play it. I'm gonna give it a D-.
Yeah, if you can get to that point in the game where you can crew this safely and bash in, your opponent can do very little about this. Multi-blocking it is very hard if you exclude the 2-power creatures. You can't just like gang up on it with a bunch of small buddies. You can like double block with 2 large creatures, but then you're probably killing them both. Anyway, D. It's bad. D-. You're not D-. It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. 5 is so much. 3 to 5 are a lot. 2 and 1 are basically the same.
Let's talk about Barricade Breaker. Barricade Breaker is 7 mana for an artifact creature, Juggernaut, which is a 7/5. Improvise. This is the first time we're seeing Improvise. Nice. Your artifacts can help you cast the spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating its mana abilities pays for 1. Think of Convoke. We talked about this at the beginning of the set review in terms of how it worked, but like think of Convoke, right? You have 6 lands and a Renegade map, a 1 mana artifact, or like 6 lands and an artifact. You can tap the artifact, tap your 6 lands, cast Barricade Breaker. That's it. But it has to attack each combative table. If you can cast this early, like say turn 4, it's going to be great. You're going to know when you want it. Overall, it's not super impressive. If you're casting this on turn 6, right? If you're casting this on turn 7, it's probably not that good. You're most likely just going to trade down, and it's going to be super awkward. But overall, if you can cheat it out, quite good. Very specific deck. Overall, C- for me.
This card was not that good before. Attacking every turn means it attacks into maybe Death Touch. And nothing you can do about
Nom
it.
Nom Cobra.
Or any other Death Touch. I didn't like it at all. I'm gonna give this a D+, and that's a gift from me, I think.
All right.
Sorry?
I got it.
Wait, what's happening?
We're gonna do the colorless rares and mythics first.
Okay, I'll stop messing around with it.
Okay. We're gonna finish this pretty fast.
Yeah, probably.
That
An
means
hour or
y'all
so?
just have to be especially argumentative, so we can drag this out for another 6 hours.
Content!
Content! Mobieus,
Yeah.
will you do the honors?
Animation module, 1 colorless for an artifact. It says whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a permanent you control, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless server artifact creature token, and you can pay 3 colorless and tap it to choose a counter on target permanent or player. Give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. Did you do the cheat sheet yet, Lola?
No, I'm not doing it.
Oh my days. Chat, you let us down again.
I didn't. I told you I was doing it.
Oh man, I'm not sure how to evaluate this. I don't remember seeing this very much.
I'm gonna do the cheat sheet for every new set. That's 100%. For every new set.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was mostly being cheeky. I think...
What do you think? Chat, by the way, you can write !vote and you can vote to see what grades you would like to give this card, and every card that we rank.
It's very low mana cost, and it goes in any color. Is it Golgari that most wants this?
Yeah.
And in Golgari, it's okay, I think, if you have 4 cards that give counters. Fabricate counts.
Scotty's gonna slam this card, I feel like.
Yeah, but
What does slam mean?
That's when
first pick
Mobius gives it the grade. Since you're next, you're like, yeah, this card's
okay.
shit.
Oh yeah, okay.
But I don't think
oh
it's
yeah,
shit.
classic. I'm gonna start on a high C+ for this card. I don't remember how good this card was, or remember seeing it very much at all. I think I saw it once or twice, and it did nothing.
I don't remember it at all as well, to tell the truth.
Okay, well, I remember this card. This card's pretty good. I'm not slamming it. Every time Lola says I'm gonna slam it, I don't. I guess. So great read there, Lola. Yeah, it's not the most expensive in the world to have a counter added on and then just make a servo. And adding 1 additional blocker is actually like definitely worth the 1 mana. It's actually quite strong. It's very cheap to slide into play, and if you just have a deck full of it, or if you end up somehow in a board stall, this can actually just grow your creatures and create servos at the same time, which is nice. If you have all 3 modules in play, which probably doesn't happen, but would be really cool if they kind of just like cycle with themselves depending on how much mana you have. I think you like make an energy, then add a counter, then make a servo for like 1 mana. You can loop that over and over again, which is pretty stinking sick. But otherwise, I have to have this as C+.
Yeah, I think it's if Kaladesh is gonna be similar to the previous Kaladesh, it probably will. It is pretty hard to go with 2 or 3 card combos that you really want to draw, because it's hard to draw cards with in Kaladesh and so on. But still, this is fine. In some decks, this is unplayable. In some decks, this is pretty good. There is a black uncommon which just you for free you sacrifice an artifact or a creature and it gets a +1/+1 counter. So it is sorcery speed, but that's fine. Like that's pretty fine. You can trigger revolt with it. So I'm putting it on a C+. This goes a lot down in many decks, but in the right deck it is gonna do some work. But I think that like it's probably should be lower, like on a C or C- because of that. But I think in some decks this really is gonna do work. So man, just in so many decks this is gonna be garbage.
I agree with you, but then I think there's some decks where it's in B territory, so that's why I just started at a C+.
You would like to be Golgari, or at least black or green.
I can envision packs where I would probably first pick this. Just be like, you know what, I can make this work.
I love to play with this kind of
Because
cards.
then you have the entire draft, right? And I don't think it's that hard to get some counter-generating stuff.
We have a good number of these kind of cards that would be so interesting in a slower set. That would be like you could make. That's why for me every set that's a little bit slower is so much better, because there is so many things you can do. The drafting gets complex. So many different decks work. And here you kind of want to just go. I'm actually giving this like a C.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm giving it a C, because in some decks it's complete garbage. It's useless piece of shit. Absolutely unplayable. I don't think a card that is unplayable in like blue, white, red, it is going to be very hard to play this, even if you have some fabricates. So, yeah, that's why starting it as a C. I think that's the middle ground. It goes up or down. It goes down to an F in many decks. That's the problem. Okay, Scotty.
Yeah, let's talk about Bomat Courier. Bomat Courier is 1 mana for an artifact creature construct. It's a 1/1, has haste. Whenever Bomat Courier attacks, exile the top card of your library face down. You pay red, discard your hand, sacrifice Bomat Courier, put all cards exiled of Bomat Courier into their owner's hands. I think this card on turn 1 has extremely high upside. So you play it, if you're on the play, of course. Maybe attack like once to 3 times, and then when you run out of cards in hand, you can sort of cash it in to refuel your hand and also pick in for a couple damage. That's extremely strong. And if you draw it later in the game, like if you're sort of top decking and you have nothing in hand, you can sort of attack with this and sort of just cycle itself. It's for 2 mana, which is not the end of the world. Overall, I think this is a strong card. If you can sort of clear the way out with removal, get in a couple extra chips in, if you're drawing 4 to 5 in the late game, you probably just win. I like this one. It's a C+.
I think Scotty, he's getting affected by standard a bit too much. That's what I feel. Don't hate me, Scotty. But
This is a good card in limited too.
it was fine in limited, yeah. Usually like 1/1s with haste in limited, even if they can cycle themselves, are unplayable. But yeah, you can attack few times. The problem is just enemy plays anything basically. And I mean, you better draw this early, or sure it can cycle itself later, but that's terrible. I think the upside is not enough because everybody's gonna play a ton of 2-drops, especially after a certain amount of time. Everybody's gonna have a ton of 2-drops in their decks, and there are a ton of 2-drops. So, and a lot of good 2-drops. So it's not gonna be, sure it's human draft, it is not bot drafts, but you can still grab a lot of early game. I'm just, I have this card. I mean, it can do some work. Like if you can draw 3 with this, it's pretty damn good.
I really don't think it's hard to like build to smash this and like actually just break the, like if they just play a blocker, it's not the end of the world. You have an aggressive deck most likely.
I got it as a C-, but every deck is gonna be aggressive. Every red deck is gonna be aggressive. So I'm gonna have it as a C-. Probably gonna go lower on it soon.
I think I'm higher than Lola. Probably on the same thoughts as Scotty, but I'm gonna start it on a C. I think if anything, I'll probably go up on it. I remember this card being super annoying. And Scotty, you said if you go first, but like even if you go second, you'll probably still get at least 1 attack in with this.
I mean, one attack is not great,
I think
right?
it's bad,
I'm
really
mostly
bad.
thinking that you have agency over your attacks.
Yeah, so 1
you can
attack isn't
affect
great,
combat.
but it's at that point it's already like a cycle, right? It's done 1 damage, and at some point when you have the red spare, you'll just sack it and draw a card. So I don't think the downside is huge. Somebody was saying, what if they remove it
That's
before you
great.
can sack it or whatever? That's the best
That's
scenario.
the best scenario.
This is a 1/1. Discarding your hand is huge. Yeah, but
Not that
you don't
huge
play
in
this in
Zandi.
a deck where you
It's
just
not
have a
that
really
huge.
high curve, you know? It just doesn't work.
It is not that huge in Kaladesh. So Mobius, great.
See,
Oh, Mobieus give it a C.
Oh, sorry, my
Mobius
bad. I missed it.
Yeah.
that's okay.
Okay, we have Hope of Girapur. For a colorless, we have a flying 1/1 that says sacrifice it until your next turn. Target player who was dealt combat damage by this card. This turn can't cast non-creature spells. This was always bad. 1/1 for 1 in Kaladesh, doesn't matter if it has flying, was never good. Attackers were too good, too fast for you to waste 1 mana and 1 card for something like this. I'm giving it just easy D-. Because I guess I'm gonna play it in some decks. You can improvise with it, that helps. So just a D-.
Oh, I'm way higher than you. I'm just on a C. I think this is fine. Why? It goes in every deck. It's an artifact. It can crew bigger things if you needed to. That secondary effect is pretty bad, except on a crucial turn where you're about to clinch the game. So it's not completely irrelevant, but you know it has that 5% relevancy sometimes. 1/1 flyer for 1 colorless is fine in my books. So, if you're not playing a super aggressive deck, then you probably won't play this.
You are playing an aggressive deck.
Well, if you're always playing an aggressive deck, then your grade for this should be higher because I mean,
The problem is just
what more do you want from a 1-mana card?
I don't want a 1-mana card. That's the thing. The aggressive cards in Kaladesh deal much more damage for just 2 mana. They'll make more than one creature.
True.
That's for 2 mana. Have really good stats for 2 mana. Like 2-drops are really strong in Kaladesh.
I guess I'm never first picking this though. I'm not picking it very early.
I mean, you're
unless
never
there's-
first
there
picking a
isn't
C, so
anything-
that's fine.
There isn't anything. There isn't anything crazy about this card, or if there isn't anything crazy in the rest of the pack either, you can consider taking it. Even pick 2 or 3 if there's nothing that tickles my fancy.
I think the
But-
power level is there. I think I'm gonna put it on a D, just because in some improvised decks this is gonna be really fine.
Right, it has some synergy,
Yeah.
and I know there's a lot of flying going around in this set because of the artifacts and in general, but I still think this will ping in for a bunch of damage. So yeah, I'm just on a C.
Okay, I'll give this a D.
Yeah. Just very heavy improvised decks. That's where I'm playing that. Mobieus?
Oh, me? Merchant's Dockhand. 1 mana, 1 colorless. I got confused by this picture so much. I thought the box was its head. Sorry. Okay, back. Merchant's Dockhand. It's a 1-mana creature. It's colorless mana. It's a 1/2 construct. And you can pay 3 colorless and a blue and tap it to tap X untapped artifacts you control. Look at the top X cards of your library, put 1 of them in your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Now this I don't like. I would never play this, just an F.
Oh, I like this card way more than Hope of Girper, mostly because like we're talking improvised decks, and I think this is actually sort of what an improvised deck likes to have. It sort of works with other cheapo artifacts that you sort of flood the board with. Of course, it just is kind of a dork until you finally have a late game draw engine. Like a 1-mana thing that eventually draws stuff is actually pretty good, I think, in a lot of sets. I think it's going to be significantly worse than this set, but it also is also offset by the fact it can cast maybe some larger creatures a little bit early. I'm not super impressed with the improvised creatures. I think the Fen Hauler at common is like kind of the only thing, quote unquote, holding it together, which is not promising whatsoever. So I'm going to overall put this
No,
one at-
there is 3/3 menace. That's great.
Oh gosh, I don't want this card in that deck.
You don't want this
I mean,
anywhere,
I
I
guess.
think.
Yeah, I guess you could do that. Like, 3/3 menace, yeah, but then it's like more aggressive. I'm more thinking about like a more controlling improvised deck, which, yeah, that's fine though. I'm gonna put this one at a D plus.
Well, I'm gonna put this one at a D minus. This is even worse than the last one. This card was never good in previous Kaladesh. Ability is useless. It costs too much. You need to tap your servos or your vehicles. It is everything is too much. The stats are too weak. In some other sets, let's say Kaladesh was exactly the same. A lot of artifacts, slower set. This is a fine card. It is not though. D minus. Terrible card.
Okay.
This card was not good in Kaladesh. It was good in your turret decks, Scotty. Sorry.
Sculpting Steel is just okay, fine, whatever. Sculpting
This is
Steel.
a new card.
It was a masterpiece, but now I guess it's just in the set.
Okay.
Scotty?
Oh, it's me. Yeah, Sculpting Steel 3 artifact. You may have Sculpting Steel into the battlefield as a copy of any artifact on the battlefield. Well, I guess we don't have our context to go off of. I actually didn't even see this when I was looking over the set. So it's like a cheap clone, but it's only for artifacts, so it's very conditional. I'm not super hot on that. It's you can copy your opponent's stuff if your opponent has just like a large dorky elephant monster.
Vehicle?
You could at least match it, or a Gear Hulk. You could at least match it, which
Or
is like
vehicle.
fine. Or vehicle, yeah, which is fine. Overall, I'm not incredibly hot on this. I think overall it's probably like a C minus.
If this was triple Kaladesh, C minus for you? I guess if this was
I don't think
triple Kaladesh, then this would have been fine, because you could copy whoever gets the freighter first, you can copy it.
Yeah, then you have a defensive freighter. Great.
Yeah. But there is no freighter here, so just go away. I'm putting it on a D- just because it can go up in your multiple train decks. D-, go away.
I'm gonna start it on a D, and I might go up on it, but the flexibility is there, right? Like it's not just your side of the board, but it is only artifacts, so see how prevalent they are.
Ooh. Heart of
Oh.
Kiran. Yeah. For 2 colorless mana, you have a legendary vehicle that's a 4/4, has flying, has vigilance, crew 3, kind of a large crew, and you may remove a loyalty counter from a planeswalker you control rather than pay the Heart of Kiran crew cost, which doesn't matter in limited. In 99.999% of situations. But for 2 mana, getting a 4/4, I don't care that it is a crew 3. You can also crew it to block. This is amazing, and I'm not sure, I don't think, because of the crew 3, it probably isn't a complete bomb, but it is a B+ in my books, a very, very high B+. Mobius?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any reason to put this down to a B, and I don't think there is. Crew 3 is high, but you can have like 2/2 drops and they'll do the job.
It's just 4 damage in the air, it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
Can't
with
be blocked by
vigilance as
servos.
well. I think I'm going to start it off on a B. It is super efficient cost-wise, but if you play on turn 2, you're not going to be crewing it.
Until turn 3, probably. I mean, it doesn't have haste, so you don't want to crew it.
I think you can crew it on turn 3 pretty consistently.
Yeah,
and attack.
consistently, yeah.
Like I don't think that's abnormal. I'm gonna put it at B though.
And that is why I don't like Skyskiff. Because yeah, if you can crew this pretty consistently, and that creature can crew a fucking Skyskiff. Okay. That was important. Mobius?
Key to the city, 2 colorless artifact, and you can tap it, discard a card. Up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn. Wow, that's pretty bad. Whenever a key to the city becomes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. Oh, I don't remember this card. Am I lagging? Sorry, guys. Sometimes
No.
my internet's bad.
No, it's... Oh, what? Okay.
Oh, this is interesting, isn't it? I think I like this. I think I like this a lot. You need 2 to plant, and you need 2 to untap it. Wait, don't you always have the 2 mana because it's untapped phase?
Yeah, it'll be an untapped phase. So it's
you'll
whether or not
always
you
have
want
the
to
2
spend it.
mana. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can discard a. Yeah, I mean, I like this. I think I'm gonna start it off at a high B-.
That's also on B-.
Well, this card was fine. And you can improvise, yeah, and then this card was completely fine. You can draw cards later, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a huge deal for me.
The
I mean,
improvise
it's
and drawing?
cheap, whatever, but like these kind of effects that give one of your creatures unblockable are usually either too expensive or just not worth the slot in your deck. This kind of alleviates that burden because it can start cycling your lands mid to late game, which is nice.
Yeah, I think this card was completely fine, but I still have it as a C, not super high on this. I think it's a little bit
Dang.
too slow. Yeah. I think this is a little
Wait,
bit...
see?
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
let's just go past all the rares. Sure, just pass all the rares.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I like this card in most of my decks, but in some decks it's just... I was too fast already, and this didn't do much unless, of course, the opponent drops a biggie, but it sounds like he's taking a shit, but okay. So, yeah, I like this card. Still, I don't think it's that good. C.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I mean, C is pretty solid. I mean, C is going to make most of your decks.
Yeah, C makes the decks. Metallic Mimic. Oh, sorry, Scotty, you.
Oh, sure. Metallic Mimic, 2. Artifact creature, shapeshifter. It's a 2/1. As Metallic Mimic enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Metallic Mimic is the chosen type in addition to its other types. Each other creature you control is of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So this is not a tribal set, right? But I think most of all, this name servos is the most common thing.
Artificers.
Solid 2-drop. It can get picked off, but like if you literally lead this into like a fabricate creature, you're kind of just doing it.
Or artificers.
Or artificers.
Or
yeah.
dwarves.
I actually
There are a
think
lot of
it's quite
dwarves.
good. I'm gonna put this one at B-.
Artificers, dwarves, humans. Yeah, there is a lot of things.
Humans is good, yeah.
Servos, like so many things that are good with this. I actually believe, like before, yeah, it was kind of servos, but I believe it's gonna be artificers a lot of the time. This card is great. I have it as a high B-, and I have it as a B. I have it as a B because it's colorless. It's so
Dang
easy
it.
to play.
I thought I was going to be the odd one out with a B.
I love this card. Not a bomb at all, but it was so. The thing is, this is in Kaladesh. This was pretty damn good.
Dwarves.
But it was also 2/1 and die to anything, so it was really nice. But like later in the game, it doesn't do much. But a lot of the 2-drops are not that strong later in the game. It was not as busted as it looks, as it would be maybe in any other set where you had more card draw, right? So you can take more advantage at any time you draw this card. But still, a solid B for me.
Yeah, same.
Scrap Heap Scrounger for 2 colorless.
Not much
you
else
have
to
a-
say.
What? What do you say?
Sorry, all I was going to say is not much else to say. So, sorry.
Okay. It's a 3/2 that can't block. And for 1 and a black, you can exile another creature card from your graveyard and return Scrap Heap Scrounger from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is really solid. Of course, you want it in a black deck, but it is not bad in any other deck. Like again, you're gonna be very aggressive, even if so. With your 2-drops, usually, even if you are maybe on the back foot, you're still a lot of the times you're still gonna be attacking in Zendikar and still trying to go over go under your opponent or over probably because they're also attacking. And then usually when you start blocking Zendikar, it's a little bit later. You don't want to trigger the revolt early and lose to some of the cards. Zendikar, sorry, I wanted to say Kaladesh. So this is fine. This is really nice. Like it's obviously really like you really want to be black. In black, it's so strong. So man, this was really good in black. But at one point, like 3/2 again is just a 3/2, and even if you can get it back, you really want to block with it, but you can't. So I'm giving it a high B-. Because sometimes you really want to block, but usually you don't. A high B-.
Yeah, easy B-. It's great.
I think crewing vehicles was the best part about this.
That's also
The not
thing.
blocking, I remember being extremely costly. Like more so that this ended up being highly overrated. I'm giving this a C+.
Oh, interesting. You talk it up and then
No, I remember this card being
No, I'm
super
saying, like,
annoying to deal with.
I'm saying that the crewing vehicles is a saving grace. Otherwise, it's really bad.
Wait, you think this card is really bad?
Really
I think
bad?
this card is
It would be
great.
if it would be if vehicles didn't allow it to block. Pseudo block.
yeah, but I mean
It's a colorless 2-mana,
3/2.
3
Nature
power
of the
creature.
format. Like I kind of agree with Lola in that not blocking is like a way more of a downside in the set than usual. But the fact that you can actually crew creatures to sort of pseudo block is kind of nice.
okay. I think this card was really good before the Kaladesh.
Yeah, that's all I remember. I
Yeah.
remember this being a nightmare to deal with.
You
as
don't
well.
like this card except as a
I
sec
remember-
outlet? Like why would you sec a 3/2 for 2? Like that's really huge.
I remember really liking this card and then having to adjust hard after it just not being that good.
Okay, fair enough. I might
I mean,
go
like
down
not
on
that
it
good
then,
as in
who
like a
knows?
C+. So it's still quite strong.
Yeah, yeah. Like C plus B minus are pretty good.
Oh,
Ooh, Mobius. This is the one you hate, right?
yeah. Immediately, as soon as I saw the picture, I was like, ah,
It looks so
There
small,
is.
but it's so irritating.
yeah. Ether Sphere Harvester, 3 mana, 3/5 with flying. It's a vehicle, and when it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. You can pay 1 energy to give it lifelink, and it has crew 1. This card is so fucking. I lost to this card so much.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's not a bomb though, so I'm just gonna give it a B plus.
A.
A minus for me. I think this is on par with the Harvester. Sorry, with the what's the name? The Choo Choo.
Oh, with the train?
Yeah.
This is the
Is
best
it?
card by far in Aether Revolt.
This is the best card.
This is the best card in Aether Revolt.
This is the best card.
In Aether Revolt, yeah.
Aha. Okay.
This is
okay.
the
You
best
you hate the revolt. Yeah.
Wasn't Ether Revolt terrible?
I mean, no. Kaladesh was terrible because it had three packs of fighters.
Wrong way. Wrong way. Yeah. Wrong way, the wrong way.
So yeah, this is amazing. Yeah, amazing card, just completely amazing. This is
Not
not a
even
bomb
close
for
to the
you,
price.
Mob. Like I think in college that this is kind of bomb, but okay.
Fair enough.
Scotty?
Okay, let's talk about Cultivator's Caravan 3 for an artifact vehicle. It's a 5/5. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, and you can crew it 3. Yeah, I really want to like this card, and I love these sort of effects because I love doing nothing, and I love losing, and I love splashing. Crew 3 is very
Same.
expensive for 5/5, and unfortunately, this card just doesn't cut it. I'm gonna have to give this one a C minus.
Yeah, this card looks so much better than it is. It, of course, in almost every other set, this would have been a really high pick. Do you agree
Yeah.
with that, Scotty?
In any
Not
other
much
set,
higher, but it is definitely
No.
higher.
In most other sets.
I don't think it would be much higher. I think this card at its stat line is just fundamentally not strong, not powerful.
Huh. Like in let's say
I don't think it's-
Zendikar. So this is like for 3 you usually get a mana rock, right?
I mean, this is a mono.
Oh, I mean that's unplayable.
Not too fucking unplayable, maybe because you were
Hold up.
you play
You
mana
play
rocks.
mana rocks all the time.
Everybody
Scotty.
plays
What the heck
mana
are you saying?
That's not a card that you should be running in limited.
Says the
Monolith?
guy who would always run it.
You run
I
it all
do
the time, man.
I do it. It doesn't mean it's good.
But
Do the
this
say not as I do.
But this is a 5/5 as well. Like your 2-drop or a 3-drop. A good number of times
Usually not
2-drop
2-drop.
can crew this for a 5/5. Okay. Still, yeah,
optimistic.
nothing too special.
Crew
I'm just putting this on a C. 3 is a pretty large crew. I'm putting this on a C, but I'm gonna be picking it probably a bit higher. If the set is, I hope it's a little bit slower, man. I hope.
Yeah, but you don't have to crew this. This is giving you mana.
You do.
You
In
don't play it
Kaladesh you
just
do.
to. You don't play it just for the crew. It's the combination, right?
In Kaladesh you do have to crew it. Like you need a board. In Kaladesh it's just board, board, board.
If this just said 3 colorless crew 3/5/5, I would pick it way lower.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but then again, I value mana a lot higher than you guys. So, I'm on a C as well. I think
Oh.
this is totally fine. Nothing to write home about, but it's interesting. This is the card I want to love.
Scotty?
I like how we're fighting the most about these of anything else
Yeah,
in the
the
entire.
little ones.
I guess it would make sense because we have the least experience with these rares. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely have the least experience with these. Some of them
But
I
everybody
don't
has
tower
the
as well.
least experience with the rares, right? Everybody played commons and uncommons billion times, but rares, not really. Scotty?
Tower, 3 mana artifact. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you get 2 energy counters, and you can tap it and pay 5 energy counters to deal 3 damage to any target. Yeah. Here goes my personal trophy for the card I'm going to take the most, but it's actually the most horrendous. I'm going to give this a D.
F.
You have to drop this on turn 3 and create mass amounts of energy to do stuff. There are going to be decks where this is going to be good. On average, this card is going to be absolutely horrible, even in an energy leaning deck. You usually don't trigger this much off the instant sorcery clause. I don't believe you mostly just get energy off of stuff like Sage's Shalish Claim, Servant in the Conduit, stuff like that. Then be able to bolt something. But even then, like when you tap this once, you're like not doing it. Like congratulations, you paid a bunch of energy and you tap this to get a bad Welding Sparks, which is unfortunate. You kind of have to be activating this like 2-3 times to really get your mileage out of it. So I'm giving this a D.
FF, this card is unplayable, even though it's gonna make some decks, but I'm not gonna give this a D-. Like those decks are so rare, and they are probably pretty bad. So yeah, just an F. If you have this in your deck, you didn't make it. I am gonna try to play it.
I don't think
sometimes.
that's necessarily the case. Maybe you're just trying stuff out.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, D-.
Sure. You can try stuff out with a lot of different cards.
I wrote D-. This card's like horrendous.
It's horrendous.
I just like it.
It is so bad. But
Electrostatic Pummeler for 3. It's a 1/1, and when it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. You can pay 3 energy, and Electrostatic Pummeler gets +X until end of the turn, where X is its power. Now, this is a really cool card for constructed and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, this is not constructed, and unfortunately, yes, you can buff it and then double its power if you can do it 2 times. Like this just doesn't work. This is an F for me. This is like a 2 once. This is just terrible. F, just F. Don't play this card, please.
Yeah, I won't play this card either. Sorry, F.
There was a card at common in green, and I don't remember the name of it.
That gives energy
That was
equal to
that
the
was
power?
almost a 1-card enabler for this. So I think this was playable in its original format. I don't think it's playable here. So I actually think I'm unfortunately going to give this one a D-. But if anyone remembers what that card was, it was a sorcery speed +4/+4 trample. Do you remember the card name?
I don't know. It was a 2 mana. I think it
2
was.
mana. Yeah, 2 mana.
Yeah, I don't remember.
You remember that, right? That was like actually a legitimate combo. Life or something?
Yeah.
Ah, well, F. Or,
No
sorry, D-
combos
for me.
here. No combos here with this card.
You have like the high spire infusion, but that's it.
Okay. Mobieus?
Yep. Lifecrafter's Bestiary. It's a 3 colorless artifact, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep, you scry 1. And whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay 1 green, and if you do, draw a card. I remember this being ridiculous. Just ridiculous. I don't know what else to say. B+.
I think I remember it being completely ridiculous from a different set, and I don't remember which set that was.
I'm pretty sure this was not reprinted.
Yeah, I think it was in this.
It was in Arena.
Oh, it was? Oh, in Arena?
Let me check it. I'm like 99% sure it was. You talk about it, Scotty.
Yeah, like here's the deal, right? 3 mana, do nothing is a little unfortunate for this set, I believe. Green also has the tools to sort of beef up the board and stabilize, but not necessarily to push, and I think this actually does a decent job in those decks. I'm not quite as hot on it just because of the nature of 3 is kind of expensive to get going, and sometimes you're just going to die with this in your hand. But I'm going to give this a B.
I guess it wasn't reprinted in Arena. Or maybe I think I played it a bunch in some constructed decks back then.
It was a constructed playable card, for sure.
Yeah, super. Yeah.
So maybe that's what I thought. Okay, yeah, I mean, scry 1 every turn is pretty good. Drawing a card, you gotta be green with this.
You can't play this if you're not green. No.
In some sets, scry 1 for 3 every turn is fine. In this one, it isn't. The problem in Kaladesh is you really don't want to pay 3 and do nothing. But this has a really high upside. I'm gonna give it a high B, not a B+ still, because it is a fast format, and sometimes I remember having this card. I was always happy to have it in my green decks, really, really happy. But I remember being in some matchups, depending on how I curved out or the opponent curved out, I could never play this card. There was never a good time to put this on the field. So, but still, the upside, the really high upside is there, and just a B, yeah. Scotty, I think it's you.
Okay, Peace Walker Colossus, 3. Artifact Vehicle, 6/6. And you can pay 1 white, 2 mana total for another target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So you can basically pay 2 mana to crew a vehicle. That's not this. It says crew 4. So I'm big on that. Crew 3 is very expensive, and crew 4 is ridiculously much harder than that. You have to pretty much consistently tap 2 creatures, or just one of your top end like 5 drops or something.
You can make your vehicle another vehicle and tap that vehicle for crew.
That's true. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
We did it.
There we go.
Yeah, you can crew your train, and then you can use your train to crew this.
Okay.
This card just unfortunately it doesn't get there. It's if you have tons of vehicles and you're in white, it's not even that amazing because you're tying up a bunch of your mana to be able to like have blockers or attackers at all. People are going to play this against you, a lot, I think. And it's going to be okay in some scenarios where you're kind of maybe getting crushed already, but in the points where it matters, it's not going to cut it. I think I have this in a just flat D.
Yeah, I'm on a D for this. Probably could go lower, but I guess in some decks it is a filler card. So D. What did we have that huge? Let me just find it. That huge train that is missing now.
The huge train that's missing now?
Yeah, you know that 8/6 menace.
8/6 menace. You mean the demolition stomp? Oh no, there's another big train, wasn't
I think
there?
it was 8/6 or 7/6 or something.
I thought that card was better.
Yeah.
The massive train, yeah. That's like a 5-drop that was like.
You gonna bring that up? Should we wait?
I'm trying to find it. There we go. Aradara Express. For 5 mana, it was Menace, Crew 4, and 8/6. And that card was marginally playable. Like 5 mana, 8/6, Crew 4. You can always get it. That's how fast Kaladesh was. This card, everybody. So you could always get it. Like there was not a single draft where you said, "Oh, I wish I had it." No, you always had it. Nobody wants like 5 of these or
I remember this now.
yeah. And it was
wasn't
very
good.
marginally playable. The art is amazing. This is one of the best arts in Kaladesh for sure. It's so good. But this was in most decks this was unplayable. In most decks you cannot play this, and it's an 8/6 menace. Doesn't matter that it costs 5 compared to this. Like, of course, if you had the couple of expresses and this, then this would get pretty good. But this was hard to play. Yeah, hard to play. That's how fast Kaladesh was. So this really bad. That card was a D minus or a D. Like that card was a D in Kaladesh. That 8/6 menace for 5. Because Crew 4 is so hard. Of course, some decks can have it. So do you have this, Mobieus? On what grade?
Just a D.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say about it that you haven't already said.
We have Scrap Troller. Ooh-ee! For 3 colorless mana, you have a 3/2 construct. All of these are artifacts, okay? Not everything here is artifact in colorless territory. Whenever a Scrap Troller or another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return to your hand target artifact card in your graveyard with lesser converted mana cost. And I don't really remember what cards are left out. It feels like some artifacts, some inexpensive artifacts are not in the set. I don't know. I can't remember which ones, but that's just the feeling that I get. And this card is still great. Like 3 mana, 3/2 is fine. If it can just get 1 card back, that's pretty good as well. I still have it I have it just as a C+. Because it feels like most artifacts, low mana artifacts are missing. I don't know which ones. You maybe can tell me, guys. But it just feels that a lot is missing where this card worked well.
I don't know how many are missing, but obviously the main one that's missing is the Pew Pew one. I forget its name now.
What is that?
What?
Pew Pew! XX Pew Pew.
Oh,
no,
There it
man.
is.
The commons and uncommons. Like, what the fuck?
I only remember this card from Constructed mostly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just being super annoying in Constructed.
I had this card a bunch of times. No,
Oh
fuck
no,
the
I had
looting.
unlimited as well. It just wasn't really like stand out for me.
I mean, this is Crack Clan Ironworks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not that's where Mobius played against it.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Arena
Mobius is there.
boys. What do you have for the grade, guys? These Ravager and Skull Clamps, yeah. What do you have as a grade for this?
Oh, I thought you were starting. I think I'll put
gave
this
it a
on
C+.
C plus.
Mm.
Oh, did you give it a C plus?
Yeah, but it was a B
Lola also
minus
gave it a C+.
before it.
I give it a C+.
Yeah.
Before it was a
C+
B
is all
minus.
around.
But something is missing, man. Something is missing. Okay, Mob?
I don't want to read this.
Yeah, but you gotta read it.
Ether Flux Reservoir, 4 colorless artifact, and whenever you cast a spell, you gain a life for each spell you've cast this turn. Wow. Oh, pay 50 life. Ether Flux Reservoir deals 50 damage to any target. You just don't play this. It's just an F.
F.
A for the flux. That's an F.
F. Terrible card. Just terrible
I guess
card.
F for flux. Aether flux.
Scotty?
Okay, let's talk about Aetherworks Marvel. 4. Legendary artifact. Whenever a permanent you control is put into the graveyard, you get energy. You can tap it and pay, 6 energy? Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Yeah, so this card is... do you know what's actually kind of funny about an energy deck? Is that a lot of the energy deck payoffs are not amazing, right? Like one of the better things you can do is like dump Thriving Rhino into stuff. But if you have like a really dedicated energy deck that unfortunately had to pick up Sage's Allies claims, etc., this is actually can be one of the better payoffs for you. Even then, this card is pretty abysmal. You can spin it on turn 4 if you do happen to have 6 energy by turn 4, which I guess is not completely irrelevant, but it's also not super strong. Even then, I'm just giving this a D. It's not very good.
Oh, F. This card is absolutely unplayable. Unplayable. Never was playable. Never will be playable.
I think that is.
Very
I think
harsh.
that's off base.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a D minus.
No, this is...
Don't pick this unless you're a hard enemy.
Maybe you
deck.
remember it... Sorry.
I don't really remember it being very good, but I don't remember it being unplayable either.
It's completely unplayable. This was... Yeah, this was a bandit standard. But energy was like bullshit in standard that game. Like because you actually get all the rares and uncommons and mythics, and you just put them in your deck. Every deck was an energy deck. No, this is unplayable. It is too slow. It is so slow. It is. You need to draw it in the right time before you use that energy, and you need to get something that's better than using that energy. So many things need to go right for this to be extremely bad. So for this to be really bad, everything needs to go right. If everything is perfect, this card is bad. So, yeah, that's the ceiling for this card, is being really bad and slow and doing so little. It is 6 energy. It is nothing. Like 6 energy is usually 3 servos. You don't have to waste the whole card and 4 mana to get more than 3 servos, and for nothing, man, just go away. You guys don't think. I think you're never gonna play this, and when you play it, you're gonna be probably playing the.
I mean, I'm gonna play it, but that's just for fun.
I really don't want to play it. It doesn't even seem fun. It's just gonna lose me games fast. Panharmonicon. For 4 colorless, it's an artifact that says if an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes triggered ability of a permanent you control trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. F.
Yeah. No. Sorry. Just F. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give this an F. Triggers off Fabricate. That's pretty much it.
That's worth mentioning. Yeah.
Too slow. In a set where you can draw more cards, this and the last card could be pretty decent. If you can play long games and early games and like have multiple divinations in your deck, or I guess.
You know what, Lola? I heard you smack talk Aetherworks Marvel enough. I'm gonna drop Marvel on turn 4 and just get myself a 5/5, and then I'm just gonna keep on going off from there. and then you'll lose.
You're gonna get a 5 from this?
Yeah, on turn 4, just drop it, tap it immediately, and then you'll die.
You mean you're gonna get the Tusker?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll get Ulamog.
Okay, good.
I'll get a Sky Skip.
Yeah, you're gonna get a Sky Skip. That's what you're gonna do. Like, your deck is mostly 2-drops and 3-drops. And then you work so hard to get another 2-drop or 3-drop and pay more than 4 for it. Like, how the fuck is this not an F? I cannot believe you guys. Like, you work so hard to get a 3-drop from your deck. Like, those you invest
All right,
so much.
Lola's never seen a good Aetherworks Marvel deck. It's time to go to work.
Oh my goodness. It seemed like your shrine decks. Sure, I'm not gonna bet this time, but sure, like, you can make a 7-0 you can have like 10 F cards in your deck, and the deck can go 7-0, which still doesn't make them like, okay, play with that exact deck, or with those pick those cards every time, and please have a win rate better than 20%.
Why you have to be mad, Doc?
I understand, Lola, that you don't think the 4-mana card is playable because you'll just never draw your 4th land.
But
And then he'll flood.
It's true, then you'll flood.
fuck you.
Only lands. Paradox Engine, 5 colorless for legendary artifact, which says whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. I don't remember seeing this at all, and that's probably because it's garbage and it's a mythic, so F.
F.
I honestly don't remember seeing this at all. Like, not a single time have I seen this card.
I think it's so, I don't know, it's so bad at, I don't know. Scotty, here we go.
Oh yeah, another F. Okay. Sky Sovereign, console flagship. 5 mana, legendary artifact vehicle. It's a 6/5. Has flying. Whenever Sky Sovereign, console flagship, enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. You can create it for 3. Immediate board impact. Absolutely massive.
Oh,
bigger than everything in the air. Remove stuff. Oh, reset the poll. Sorry. Well.
I mean, reset the one guy who wants to redo his vote, please. Thank you. It's me.
Yeah, it's you. It was me who gave it an F. This is the bombiest
Yep.
of bombs. I'm giving this an A+.
This is the best card in the set, A+. The best card in the set, easy.
Okay. I mean, if you guys weren't so hype about it, I'd probably give it an A, but you're right. It's probably one of the better cards of the set. A+.
It's the best card. Are you thinking which card could be better than this?
I don't
Not
think there is
really.
one.
There
It's
is
colorless.
Not really.
Let's take it.
Yeah. Planar Bridge for 6 colorless. It's an artifact, and you gotta pay 8 colorless and tap it. Search your library for a 3-drop. Put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle
Hey,
your
that's not what it says.
library. Search your library for a permanent card, so it can be a 4-drop. Put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. This is the F-iest of Fs. You play what? Does nobody in the chat, I think, thinks this is not an F. Like, this set is...
I mean, you can't play this card.
So this is an F in every single... in Dominaria. This is F in Dominaria, where you need like 2 2-drops. Where most decks get away with playing 2 2-drops. That's how slow it is. And paying, what, 6 and then 8, that's 14 in total. Okay, sure, over a couple of turns. So on average, like, after you've drawn half of your deck, you can search. Fuck me, F, this is the worst card in the world. Don't play this, or do if you play against me, but please don't.
If you play against me, definitely play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an F.
Yeah.
It's too expensive.
Well,
Unfortunately.
Aetherworks Marvel searches the top 6, and this searches your whole deck. And you don't have to spend any energy, so
There we
it's
go.
pretty good. What's the next
Energy is
card?
easier to get than mana. Than 8 mana, sorry.
And you can activate this multiple times.
It's true. You just once you hit 8 mana, just every turn, bam, 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 bam.
Bam, 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 bam. 2-drop,
Bam,
3-drop,
bam.
3-drop, 2-drop. Bam, bam, bam.
Do not put 4 drops in your deck, Lola.
And you don't have a lot of 4
Nope.
drops in your deck in Kaladesh. You do not
What's the
have a
next
lot
card?
of them. And like
Let's talk about Metalwork
when you
Colossus.
can use this, if somehow you didn't die, like you're.
Yeah, why are we talking about this so
I don't
much,
know why we're
Loda?
talking about
Do you
it.
just want to
Talk
be
about
angry
Metalwork
at it?
Colossus.
Okay.
Who's reading this? Me?
Yeah.
Metalwork
Mobieus.
Colossus. 11 mana for an artifact creature. It's a 10/10, and it says it costs X less to cast, where X is the total CMC of non-creature artifacts you control. Okay. Sacrifice 2 artifacts, return Metalwork Colossus from your graveyard to your hand. Huh. Another card that I don't really remember seeing much. It's just a bumblebee, right? Looks like a bumblebee.
Yeah, it does look like Bumblebee.
I need 2 3+ mana. I need like 5 mana on board, and then this costs 6.
Yep.
Huh. That's not terrible. 6 mana 10/10? That's fine.
You play Sky Sovereign, this costs 6.
No, Sky
Then it
Sovereign
can
costs
cruise Sky
5,
Sovereign.
right?
No,
No,
it costs
this
5
costs
then,
6.
right?
This costs-
Sorry?
Yeah, then Metalwork Colossus costs 6.
Ah.
Yeah. And then it's a perfect curve, and then you can crew the Sky Sovereign.
What? With this?
There-
Why would you just make it a
Mobieus!
creature? What? You're confusing me so much. Also, I don't know how to rate this. I think I'll start it off on a C-.
Okay, I'll go
It's
full
not
D-.
terrible. It's not terrible.
It is.
I think it's terrible.
It's
Is it?
terrible. It's
I've
pretty
never
terrible.
seen this. I've never
Yeah,
seen this card.
unfortunately. So like the best thing you can do is curve out with like some creatures and like some vehicles as well, because vehicles are probably the best thing to be discounting this. Like you
Yeah.
drop what train, all of a sudden that's a discount for 4. Maybe like a puzzle knot on turn 2, and then like a train. Then all of a sudden that's like a 6
Oh
discount.
shit!
then
It says
discount later.
non-creature.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
yeah.
the trick here, you don't crew your vehicles and try to expect to play this main phase too, because then that doesn't work. It undoes the cost reduction, so you have to cast this out beforehand.
All right. I'll give it a D+. I want to play this. I've never seen this card be played, but in my head, it's not terrible. Actually,
one of my favorite
I
cards.
did misread the non-creature bit. I didn't misread it. I read it and then disregarded it. So,
I mean, it doesn't really matter,
started
right?
off on a D+.
You're not really. I mean, you're not gonna. I mean, you can have creature artifacts, but I guess it would matter. But the thing about this is, let's say if this was a 6-drop, which is which requires some work and some luck to draw things in the right way.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know
No,
what I
wait.
was thinking.
If this is a 6-drop, just how fast Kaladesh was, if you get a 6 mana 10/10, it's not very good. 6 mana
Really?
10/10 is not very good in Kaladesh. And this is not a 6 mana 10/10, but I'm just saying, if there was a 6 mana 10/10 in Kaladesh, it would not be very good, unless you give it trample, right? But most decks can't give it trample. That's how fast the Kaladesh was. This is F. This is unplayable. I'm never gonna play this in any of my decks.
I'm going to play it.
Because the non-creature artifacts, you have to usually, most of them, you have to sacrifice them. And if you sacrifice them, if you do not wait for this card, then this is gonna be a dead card in your hand. So F.
But it's a 10/10.
Yeah, 6 mana 10/10, which would be infinitely better than this card, wouldn't be very good in Kaladesh. Playable, not very good.
All right, fine. I'll go down to a D-. But I'm
Yeah,
not going to give it
D-
an F.
Imagine the death touch against this.
I'm definitely going to play this.
I'm not.
D-.
Yeah, why doesn't it have trample? That doesn't even make
Yeah,
any
I don't
sense.
fucking get it. Like, it should have trample.
It might honestly, this card was played in niche deck and constructed. I wonder how good it would be with trample.
Better. Oh, we're done?